Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a historic, much anticipated episode. I am the dealer, Trasnell, and I'm joined by.
I'm the student, Kirklin Patzer.
I'm the overgrown dweeb, Dylan Muss.
And the mute of mutes, Taylor Field.
The mute of mutes. Well, there you go. Whatever that is. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. This is one that's been talked about for years. We've only dipped our toes at one time, a long time ago. Me, Dylan, and Kyle. I don't know what I was going to say. I was going to say myself as well. I was going to add myself on there twice, but I was only on there once. We did Spider-Man, the animated series, and now we're dipping our toes into the rest of our 90s Fox animated series lineup back in the day. Next year, patrons, you'll get early. You'll be getting Batman, but we're starting with X-Men in the new year. X-Men Retrospective. I guess technically the title is X-Men, the animated series. Retrospective is TAS, and yeah, this is very exciting. This is one that people have asked about, and I'm excited because we got, obviously, the show is coming back, so that's why we're doing that. The revival's coming back next year, and then, maybe a little later than we thought, but the MCU will have X-Men joining them at some point, so that's why we're doing this. Good time to jump in and everything like that. So if people don't know what we're going to do is, we'll kind of always announce beforehand, but we're going to do them in big clumps, because episode by episode, we would be here for a very long time. And they're only like 20 minutes, so there's sometimes not that much to break down if there's like a two-part. So each episode kind of will be 5 to 7 episodes. Obviously, you'll see in the title, but beforehand, you'll kind of know and stuff like that. And luckily, most seasons are broken down this way. So really, if you want to think about it that way, where we're kind of reviewing half of one season, then the other half the next episode that way. So like this episode, season 1, the first half, next episode will be the second half. So that's kind of the format working forward. I know there's been variations. That what we did with Spider-Man, I think with Clone Wars, Taylor did like 3 or 4 for each. So that's what we're kind of going with here. So now you know if you want to watch along or if you're just wondering. So Taylor Field, before we get in, I don't know what you can promote just the general links. This will be dropping on the main feed in like the fall and stuff like that, but patrons will be getting it nice and early. But you can just drop the
Do you want me to look at the calendar and be like, okay, first week of fall, we got this coming next week.
Yeah, sure.
Yesterday.
Pull it up. Yeah.
I'm good. Okay. Called my bluff. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us at your connection in the Patreon.
Don't mess with Gambit.
GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerse is our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook.
Yeah, I'm sure lots of everything is going on good in GeekVerse, unless the apocalypse has happened. But no, just follow those links and everything you need to know down below. And Patreon, a big thank you to people that are Patreon producers right now. Hopefully, Aaron Braden, Bernard, and Joshua Wright still are. But if you're not, that's completely okay. We just love that you support us. So anyone that's a Patreon producer or supporting us, we thank you very much. I do know in the fall right now, you'll be able to be voting for the William Dafoe retrospective. So look out for that in the fall. But yeah, let's get into it. But what I wanted to do first, because obviously we watched 7, we'll go episode by episode. Oh, Dylan, I get to get back into the Wikipedia. Remember for Spider-Man, the Wikipedia synopsis?
Didn't they get like super lazy halfway through in Spider-Man? Like the first seasons, they spoiled every plot point, and the later ones are like, the lizard shows up or something like that.
Spider-Man fought the Vulture and won.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah, so that's exciting. And we did this for Clone Wars as well. So I love the Wikipedia synopsis to see what they give us and stuff like that. But I want to start with Taylor Field, because I feel like he said I just want to get an overall of what you've thought of the show so far, and also we're going to do breakdown and from everybody, because this is the fun thing. This is these guys' first time watching it. So I know what we talk about. We've seen the memes, seen some clips and stuff like that, heard of the legend. But Taylor, I want to start with you, because I feel like you're the most, I'd say, casual to like the X-Men haven't always been your cup of tea. I think, there's things you've liked, but you wouldn't say, oh yeah, I love the X-Men. So what is these first 7 episodes striking you as?
The episodes are actually well received for me, I would say. Now, again, you said
It
X-Men
sounded like an
is-
election, like
Yeah, that was
like a
political
policy.
stuff.
Numbers are up.
They're well
Numbers are
received.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna stop the count though at 7. You said it though. X-Men has not been my cup of tea, because I just feel like it kind of oversaturates the superhero market, just having like way too many people with superpowers, like way too many. And I like the small conciseness of like Avengers and stuff, or like individual movies, like okay, like there's one hero with like their own unique power, but then you get an X-Men, it's like boom, 10,000 heroes. It's like holy fuck, I can't process this. So the animated series is nice because I'm getting a very small, confined little group of these heroes right now, and they're bringing in other like mutants with heroes and abilities and stuff like that, and I'm liking that. But I like that it's focused on the small, concise group, like your Avengers or whatever you want to call it. And it's a good introduction too, because my only take on these characters comes from the live action that we've been graced with, and this
Graced with. This guy hates
Graced.
those movies.
So far the show's been great. The thing that I find humorous is that the difference between this and I think kids shows nowadays, because the amount of sexual tension in this, like episode one, there was so much sexual tension. I was waiting for I was afraid like Madison's gonna see me at like 5 a.m. watching these and be like, "What are you watching, Taylor?" Like, so I had to be
this
careful.
doesn't happen in Paw Patrol. There's no Sky and Zuma aren't like, I'm waiting for you.
This is true. But yeah, I like the show so far. I think that this is actually taking me by surprise how positive I am on it. Well, there's definitely a few characters which I absolutely loathe. I think, God, we need multiple seasons worth of development to save these characters. I think that we are definitely off to a strong start.
See, I'm excited because I know of one, but you said multiple, so we'll get into it. So, Mr. Muss, obviously, like we said, you were around. You've dipped your toe in Spider-Man, and luckily, when we did those Spider-Man ones, you got a little taste because remember there was that 2-part crossover where the X-Men and Spider-Man teamed up. I don't know if you remember this, but so now you're getting their full series. What are you thinking about the X-Men?
Yeah, I was feeling a little bit nostalgic going through this, so I went back and listened to our first episode of the Spider-Man retro, and it was kind of fun to go back there because that was like a long time ago at this point.
Yeah.
And going back to that, like me and Kyle were pretty negative on that first
Scary
episode.
for me. Scary for me.
We're
As
like,
these guys
man,
agreed to do 5
too
seasons.
many quips, not liking this, kind of sucks, all this stuff. And but when I think about that show in my head, I'm like, I love that thing. And I think it got better pretty quickly, and then I enjoyed it more and more as I was kind of invested in that world and the characters. And I think it's going to be a bit of the same thing here, where the first couple episodes, once again, I was like, oh, God, what did I sign up for? I don't think I'm going to like this very much. But already by, watching like 7 episodes in, I'm into it more. There is, I kind of agree with Taylor in a way that there's some characters here where like there's no meat on the bone, as we like to say. Whereas like Wolverine, love it. He already has like a ton of development, and the voice acting's great, and he gets like some good story beats. But other characters just kind of feel like they're there. So I'm excited to get I'm sure each one of them has like kind of episode arcs that are targeted at them, and obviously there's no like origin story to this, right? You're kind of just thrown into the middle of it where there's heroes and villains all over the place. And then you're kind of just set up with new stories. So I'm already getting more into it, but I think the first couple episodes are actually pretty weak. Once again, just like even if I look at my notes, like I have very little to say about the first 2 episodes. But by episode 5, 6, 7, I already have like a bunch of fun things to mention. So I think that's where I'm at. But I am a big X-Men fan generally, so I'm excited to get into the show and learn about some characters that I don't know too much about, because there's definitely a lot of those that kind of slip through the cracks.
Dylan, I got a quick question for you. I feel like when you get to like the exit part or the outro of the the episodes, and you get that cool like retro video game style, like cover the character,
The character select screen.
I feel like
yeah.
you'd love that. Yeah.
It looks horrible. The 3D animation is so bad, but I loved it because it's just so cheesy and it's such a weird way to end a show. You would think that almost be like something at the beginning of a show, but I did enjoy that.
Different theme too, and that's just like generic rock music. Like you go from the opening theme, which is like this iconic like dun, it's so hype, and this other one's like brr, 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 it's just some guys going hard on a guitar for a few minutes. They bring that back. I don't think Dylan will remember this, but in the Secret Wars episode of Spider-Man, when Spider-Man has to select his team, they like throw up that 3D screen, but it's like all heroes, like him, Captain America, like Storm. They all get like that. Oh, look at this 3D animation and stuff like that. It's so good.
That's amazing.
Because I remember, and there's like a Hobgoblin rendering, but check out. You can go back. They're on YouTube. They're not probably on the feeds anymore. But like I said, nothing more scary. When Dylan and Kyle agreed, they're like, we'll do this retro. And first episode, and they're both like, I don't know the show. I'm like, oh no, what's this is gonna be a long time. But Kirklin, Patzer, what are your thoughts on these mutants overall so far? Before we get into the specifics.
Yeah, I'm having lots of fun watching the show. This is actually the first thing I ever watched on Disney Plus.
Right,
I remember I was in the Calgary airport.
Nice.
I was downloading episodes for my flight, and one of them was Mandalorian episode 1. I was coming home to do that review, so it's a nice little callback. But yeah, I watched like the first season of this show. I got really into it and then just put it down. So it's nice that we're doing this retro. It gives me motivation, make it through the rest of the show. And
A lot of
I'm
episodes.
having so much
5
fun.
seasons. Like there's tons of episodes.
Lots of content, and I'm loving the first well, I watched like 9 episodes already because I went past the cutoff point. But yeah, no, I think it's just such a fun show. It's very, very nostalgic for me because it just reminds me of like the art style and the animation of the shows that I grew up watching, and just totally reminds me of those early Saturday morning cartoons. I'd be watching Spider-Man, and then this would come on. I'd definitely be more focused in on the Spider-Man, but definitely recognize a lot of characters and just forgot about certain character designs too. It's like, holy shit, I completely forgot that's what whoever looks like. So yeah, I'm like, the humor's really, really hilarious, and like Taylor mentioned, like, I just, when you're a kid, like those sexual tension, like humor moments between characters just completely goes over your head, or at least it did for me. So to come back to it, it's just like, man, early 90s cartoons, like, it's like you mentioned, Travis, it's so different from what it is today on Paw Patrol or whatever. And
Yeah, Gambit says some stuff, which like, whoa.
he does. But I mean, like, to have like this handful of characters for our initial roster for the first season, I think it's a nice little mixture. It's probably not who I would have selected, just pulling from like my live action knowledge, but I like it. There's definitely some characters that shine a lot more than others, but yeah, no, I'm excited to unpack it with you guys and just carry on with the rest of the seasons of the show going forward, leading up to X-Men 97. I think it's going to be lots and lots of fun because there's so many variety of characters in the X-Men that, for me personally, makes them very interesting. And yeah, I like the villains that we've already been shown, and just to see the difference between the way that I remember them from the live action movies to where they are now. And yeah, I love the theme song. I love that outro that you guys were mentioning. Totally takes me back to like PS1 like fighting game or whatnot. And I like it because it kind of like showcases what their powers are or whatnot. And there's a couple ones in there. It's like, I didn't even know that was like an additional power that character had or whatnot. So yeah, and right at the gate, definitely Rogue is my favorite. I just love her design and her one-liners and all that stuff. She just has like a badass attitude that I'm really, really digging. And again, very, very different from the live action version that I've seen.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
night
like
and
this
day.
one a lot. Yeah, night and day difference. So yeah, I'm having a blast. So this is a fun one.
Well, and that's why it's interesting because there's so many people like myself. Like, I grew up with this and then got in the comics, and this is definitely more in line. They adapt, but this is way more in line of, especially the '90s, like late '80s comics of what it was. So that's why you have they're kind of gone away now, but at the times you had a big contingency of people that really disliked the X-Men movies because they are like me and Dylan were trying to look for backgrounds, and some of the problems were it's just so bright and colorful. It's just almost like in your face. And you look at the X-Men movies, leather suits, it's all toned down, no masks. Cyclops literally makes fun of like what you want to wear, spandex. Like, they did the complete opposite. So that's why it's like, for me it was fine because I just was a kid, like, oh, I want to see them on screen, whatever. But I imagine if you're an adult that time, you saw the animated series, and probably people are just happy there was a movie, but it's like stuff like Rogue, a complete 180. Like, they're nothing really alike other than they got the white streak of hair and the same powers and stuff like that, you know. And it's funny you mentioned the powers, like, because me and Dylan have been playing Midnight Suns. That's the best thing about mutants is they all got like a passive or something like that. Like, they have their main power, and then they have like 6 to 7 like little additional powers. Because Taylor has a problem with one power that's going to come up. Like I said, though, like every mutant has like almost by default like superhuman strength. You know, like if you're a mutant, you're on the juice. You know, like your punch is going to be a little bit harder, but. Yeah, no, I don't have much to say. I think I've talked about it before. It's just a fantastic series. What I was more thinking about when Kirklin was bringing up the Saturday morning cartoons, I know because it was like this Spider-Man and Batman all in a row, and I don't know what the fourth show was. I think before it was like Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego or whatever that show was, like the lady with the red jacket. Do you remember that? Yeah.
That was a Canadian show as well.
Yeah, and I think the fourth one was always because there was an Iron Man show that got canceled. There was a Hulk, there was Silver Surfer. So I'm wondering if the fourth slot was always like a show that they were trying to make work, and it didn't. It could have been Superman as well, because yeah, Superman was running at that time, so that's maybe what it was. But yeah, no, it was a great time, and I've watched this. I won't say yearly, but I think it has been yearly because this is definitely my kid's favorite. And it's not just because Logan's name is Logan. It's just like, for some reason, they really enjoy this and Batman. I think with this one, it's just like the cast of characters. And it's like young. And Spider-Man is young, but he has the mask on a lot of time, where this is like, and I think that's why they like Spider-Verse, because anything that has like Jubilee or people that are like the youths, we end up watching. And like right now, I'm not allowed to watch any episodes unless Gwen's here. She's like, you can't watch anymore. We've done the show before. more. Like we've done it, but she's excited to watch it. So no, it's a great adaptation. Yeah, there's definitely some cheese. There's some things where you go, oh, okay, like it's not even fun in a memeing way. You're like, okay, it's a little dated, but it came out 93, 92 and stuff like that, so it's to be expected. And I think it's more just so, especially when you get into later seasons, there's more like adults, not X-ray, but like adult storytelling than even I thought of and stuff like that. And I'm a big fan of each episode running towards one another because I like the anthology thing, but I also like having a big storyline and stuff like that. So anything else before we get into the end of these episodes?
No, let's do it.
All right, so Wikipedia has them together. Do we want to just talk about 1 and 2 together? Do we want to talk about 1 as a split? What do we want to do here? The Night of the Sentinels is what I'm referring to.
Do 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think combine them. I don't have a ton of notes about each one
Okay.
individually, so it kind of works if we bundle them together, I think.
It's good because I got some questions for Taylor about this one. So, Night of the Sentinels, episode 1 and 2. The X-Men come to the aid of Jubilee when her foster parents turn her into the mutant registration and she's attacked by Sentinels. The X-Men save her, bring her to their facility. She learns a little secret about them, just a little secret. When she decides to go back and check on her foster parents, she's captured. Man, now reading this, it's like, man, she gets captured a lot. The X-Men discover that the group is running a mutant registration program and intends to track and eliminate mutants. So they decide to enter the building and destroy all the data. There's a second part, but I'll actually wait to read that because I think there's some stuff we could talk about quickly. Tay, I want to start with you. Jubilee, she's our interest in this world. She's the first mutant we meet and stuff like that. Where are you feeling on her? You want this to be in the MCU? Jubilee be our entrance into it?
They can definitely put her into the MCU, but they need to properly do her because I feel like her not like that. I feel like her character her character in this show has not been off to a strong start. She bothers me out the wazoo. Very much just don't like it. And now like specific things too, like she's just so she's ignorant and she's just like she just drives me up a wall. Like she's
young,
going back
though.
home.
She's supposed to be the
she's
kid
young,
of the show,
but like
right?
I guess, but I'm pretty sure kids aren't this like daft. And she's going back to her foster parents.
That's her
and she
X-Men
doesn't
passive ability, is that she's stupid.
She's daft, yeah. She's going home to check on her foster parents. She doesn't see the fucking Eiffel Tower sized sentinel hiding behind a tree on the sidewalk or next to the building. Like, oh my god! And that's another other con that I have, but I let it pass because it's again kid show. But like the
All
sentinel
the X-Men got a problem with
sizes,
that. Oh yeah.
like the size of the sentinels, like they first introduce them as being like Godzilla size, and then they shrink down. Like I can't get a gauge on their actual height, which is fine. Back to Jubilee. She drives me nuts. Like she's in the mall, she's freaking out, and I don't even fully understand what her power is. Like it's just like Panic at the Disco.
Just like sparkly explosives, pretty much.
It's
is
like
the way I
fireworks.
understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Taylor,
Fireworks.
if someone came to you and said you can either have no powers or you could shoot fireworks out of your body, you'd probably still take the fireworks, right?
Probably not. I don't
No,
know.
what?
What are fireworks gonna do for me? Call the fire
I know,
department
so-
in and
Canada
like put
today,
me
you're
out?
gonna be the most-
Destroy security
Yeah.
cameras.
Yeah. Canada today, you're going to get an arm and a leg charging people like, hey, you want to see some fireworks and just shoot them out of your fingers? You make so much money.
I guess.
trips.
I'll just be working at kids' parties.
Yeah, with tons of money. And plus, if you ever get in a fight, you know that's going to throw the person off. Like, they go to punch you, like Flash Thompson in Spider-Man 1, and you just shoot
wanna fight.
fireworks
Oh my
at them?
gosh.
You want to
You'd
fight
be
me? Yeah, I wouldn't
Travis,
want to firework me either.
Is there an element to her powers that are like, since she's still like, however, she's like 14 in the show or something like that? When she's like an adult, like does those powers evolve at all? Is that a thing?
Just turn
in
into
X-Men?
nukes out of her fingers.
I don't think so. Not really. I think they just like get more control than maybe bigger. But
Right.
she's an interesting character because she was like in the comics and she got really popular around this time. But it just feels like the 90s kids that hold on to her because she's not around in much X-Men stuff anymore. She did make it to one movie. She was in I think it was Apocalypse. She was in there for a little bit, but they didn't really use her. So I'd be interested to see if they do, but I think that there's just not many writers that are just, I want to tell the Jubilee, like make her the main. So like whenever she's around, I feel like she has the same powers because people just don't want to do much with her. Because I feel probably like Tay that most people do feel they kind of make her a little over the top. But again, I think it works for the shows like the era because I feel like she's the guide. She's supposed to be a kid. She makes it look a little older, but I feel like she's supposed to be like a 12 to 14-year-old kid and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I think she very much fits the time frame. So if in live action, if they go back to like late 80s, early 90s, and you just see Jubilee at a mall or something, I think it totally fits. Like her outfit and everything. She almost is like that. I mean, like the clothes is just so like late 80s, I feel. So maybe it's like the cool thing to have at that time. So like maybe her character is just to represent like what the youth, as Travis mentioned, sounded like an old guy.
Those big goggles.
Yeah, like what they see, you know, like like to an extent, like her big jacket reminds me of just like old Michael Jackson, like when he's just like totally like, I don't know, over the top, like the clothes and everything, just being like a pop star. And that's what it fits. So yes, it is extremely dated now. But I mean, it also makes sense if you're like a kid watching the show and like she is the one, you know, taking you on the journey. You just see this cool dress in youth. It's like, oh, I could be that, you know, like she's just like she's a daft child, as Taylor would say. So.
I was excited to see her. I was maybe surprised that was kind of like the setup for the show, which, you know, I mean, it's not really supposed to be like an origin story or anything. I guess it kind of is, but it's more just like they're trying to get you into that world as quick as possible, and her storyline and being hunted by these Sentinels and being on the outside, and then she can be the way that introduce the viewer to who the X-Men are. Like, it kind of just makes sense in that way. But I've always heard of this character. Yeah, she had that very short appearance in the live action, but I've always been curious about, like, one, I never understood her powers just from like a glancing look, and also I didn't really know anything about her character or her backstory or anything like that. So I feel like they did a pretty good job of setting that up quickly. I wouldn't put her at the top of my list in terms of favorites so far, but I don't hate it. I really liked her. Of course, her comment that she called Sentinels the overgrown dweeb. I thought that was a fun little
She's
comment
got some
from
good
her.
zingers in there, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like a lot of characters so far, that's maybe one thing I've noticed so far, is like, other than Wolverine a lot and like maybe Gambit, a lot of the characters have just very like basic dialogue, and I'm not really like, that was something I love about Spider-Man, is all these crazy one-liners. And I know some of the writers, you know, work on both of these shows and stuff. There's a lot of crossover behind the, you know, camera, so to speak. But yeah, I feel like she got to have more fun dialogue than other characters so far.
So yeah, Sentinels. I had some note. I can't remember. It was about her parents. Her parents very harsh on her. Oh, this was my favorite line. It's like, I hope they don't find out our beautiful daughter Jubilee is a mutant, and then they obviously ship her off and stuff like that. So
That was like a red flag, because I thought, okay, so like
Yeah, that's a red
definitely like
flag.
related and everything like that, and then they casually just slide in like foster parents after. But these foster parents clearly don't seem to think they're foster parents. They're acting like she's their real daughter, which is very nice, very sentimental. But
what's the goal? Most people that adopt, you know, you want to feel.
well, they
some
didn't
kinship
adopt;
there.
it was just foster care. So the
Yeah,
foster
I
is
guess
adoption.
so. They also just gave up on it real quick. The second,
Oh,
any
yeah,
sniff of
they
being a
did.
mutant, and
Well, it sounds like they, you know, whatever, adopted her or took her in like recently too, right?
yeah.
So that's
so there's
part
no
of it.
Under a
connection.
year, I think it was.
Yeah. I also never realized that her name is Jubilation. Like, that's her first name, and that's where her name comes from.
why
which-
she's up for
I was
adoption.
like,
Bill.
that is a wild name. I don't know if that's common in some parts of the world or something, but like, that is a very intense name. It just does not sound like a name. It sounds
It's
like,
either Jujubee or Jubilation.
yeah, I'd go Jujubee.
Yeah, I think I picked Jujubee as well. The Jubilation. It's just, you sound like you're someone from like the Grinch, like Whoville or something. Like that.
Yeah,
Like,
you
it's
do.
Jubilation.
Mayor Jubilation.
It sounds like
Yeah.
a trendy dance from the 80s or something. Like,
100%.
Jubilation.
Yeah. You just got Jubilee there. But yeah, so her parents, like they tried, they seemed like they cared about her, but they didn't. They gave her
Well,
up, and you know, and
That
stuff like
dynamic's pretty similar to like Rogues in the
Yeah.
live action, isn't it? With like the foster parents. It's like,
Yeah.
oh no, she's a freak.
And Bobby, same thing. They do that
Yeah.
too, where he's, you know, his parents think he's just at a boarding school, but the second they find out his ice powers, they hate him and stuff like that. Which, like, obviously, that's a big thing. Like, in the timing of it, I think that's why it did have a big. Like, they talk about this. Ian McKellen's talked about this. You look at the '90s. I'm not trying to be super serious, but it was the height of just the AIDS pandemic, and I think that where this like puts in a lot of just well choreographed as far as that's what mutants to me has always been. It is if there's something that society deems wrong, at the time, whether it's your sexuality, whether it's the color of your skin. I think that's why with the X-Men I've always really enjoyed that, because it is something more, and that's what it is, right? Is they're just saying, because even then Jubilee, it's not like a rogue power, it's not Beast, it's just she can shoot fireworks from her hands. Like, it's not like, why is this the thing? But it's because it's different, and it's deemed, well, mutants are bad, and it's like, well, we have to kind of excommunicate her. Now they're not the shitty parents about it, because they're still like, oh, it's so sad, but still they don't really stand behind her, and once she just goes to the school, and I don't think they ever could really come back again, so they didn't care much about her or anything like that. So
I think they did a good job of setting that up, that the quote unquote mutant problem, like, in the world, and just how the general, like, population kind of feels about mutants, and how that's kind of like a hot topic right now in this world. I think they actually did a pretty good job in these first two parts of setting that up without it really being tied to, like, what the main plot of the episode is, but just kind of establishing that in the world. And then they kind of remind you of that every couple episodes, I guess. But I think they did a good job of setting that up here. That's just kind of a thing that's going on.
And I was gonna say, also, we've seen them before, but do you guys have anything to say on the Sentinels? All I have to say is, like, this is my favorite design of them, just these big Frankenstein looking. I love the color scheme. It's just different variations of pink and purple until we meet, like, the Mastermind or whatever one where he's a little bit different. But I love their eyes. I love there's just something about them where it's just, as a kid, it's like, oh, these are cool bad guys. Anytime they pop up, it's just, I'm down to see the X-Men just, like, knock their head offs and everything. So
Yeah, I think my first experience with it would have been in Ultimate Alliance when they appeared
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Very different from the live action version. I like both of the versions. I don't know what would be my favorite, because I feel like the live action ones fit very well with like just the overall aesthetic of those movies. Like you mentioned, it's just like a lot of leather, a lot of like Matrix inspired outfits, it seems, and just have like the more sleek metal Sentinels. I think that totally fits that world. But here again, with all like the bright colors of the characters, people like Jubilee, I think these totally fit. Like, they don't stand out, even though they seem like they.
That's why they hide so well, Kirklin. That's why people don't see them
behind the trees. They're just, oh, it's a lightning pole or something. So
yeah.
yeah.
Taylor, I feel like, do you like the Sentinels? You're a big mech guy and stuff. Would you want to see them fight the Transformers or?
Oh fuck yeah,
Godzilla?
I'm there day one.
Godzilla, the Sentinels after Godzilla,
Pacific Rim, Godzilla, the whole shebang. My first interaction, I think, would have been with X-Men: Days of Future Past.
Yeah,
seeing
the plastic
those, like,
versions too.
Yeah, the OG. Kind of like live action ones, and then getting to see like their super advanced, like, futuristic forms, which I think are pretty cool. Seeing this classic look is fantastic, though. I really like it in the show. I think it's cool. I love the colors. The color scheme is definitely a huge plus for me. I love purples and lavender and all that jazz. So keep it up. And then
keep it up.
Keep it up. Yeah.
Show from the 90s.
Yeah, and that master version too. Like, he had a little bit of yellow in there too, didn't he? Like that giant.
Yeah, he
like,
did. Yeah.
Just a
And
giant
his
mech
face is a bit
producing
more
mechs.
almost.
Yeah,
it's more.
What was his name again? I wrote it down somewhere. It's like
It's like
Master Mole or something.
Yeah, I think Master Mold or something like that. It doesn't
Yeah.
say it here, unfortunately, but yeah, he's like the big one. But
I like that one, like, quick knockoff half-assed one he just pumped out that was just like doing martial arts and like fighting, but it got bopped really fucking quick. But I thought that was pretty cool, though.
Most of them do get bopped pretty quick, but I think that's why I like them so much. Is there's just I feel like it's almost like a little running gag where there's always, like, you kill one and like three more pop out of nowhere.
There's nothing more satisfying to me is when Rogue flies past them, and like I said, when she just punches their heads off. Like, that is just like, oh, it's like popping bubbles on the plastic when she does it. Like, I want that.
Okay, speaking of that, is it common that Rogue can fly? I did not know that was like a power that she had.
So it is and it isn't. It's not her full-on power, but of course, this is what people want to happen in the MCU. She gets it by holding on too hard to one and only Carol Danvers. So and I think at one point in the
Like, she
show
just
they
gets
will
it permanently because of. Okay.
Yeah, I think at one point in the show they do flashback or show some of it, but because Carol's so strong, it doesn't kill her. But it's one of these things of like, if she were to do that, someone else probably would kill her. So yeah, that's how she gets it, is from Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, whatever she was in that era. So that's what people want. They want whoever Rogue's going to be in MCU, hopefully Keke Palmer, to grab on to Brie Larson and just take that power and stuff like that. They might
Why
just
would
make
she
shit
do
fun.
that? Like, what good conscience
Fuck
is it
you,
like?
Carol.
Yeah.
Stole my man.
I can't remember the exact reason. I don't think it was like a fight. I think it was some sort of like, Oh gosh, I don't even remember what the
Well, maybe
situation
maybe
is.
it was like to save her or something like that. Maybe it was like,
Something like that.
grab onto
Take
me,
my
then you can
strong
fly
hand.
and save yourself, and I won't die, kind of thing. And then it just ended up being permanent.
I'll
But that's
tell
kind of
you-
what like that happens in the movie with Rogue and Wolverine, right? She's
Yeah,
like,
for a while she gets that
Yeah.
healing power. So
Yeah.
Taylor, before this cast answers, I'll get you the exact scenario of how it happens and stuff like
Okay.
that. But first, we're going to talk about another character, and we'll talk about all the X-Men as they come up because some of these ones they bring up certain characters. So we'll talk about them all in their specifics. But so then the second part of this, after destroying the files on the mutants, the X-Men escape to the Blackbird but are stopped by Sentinels. During the fight with the Sentinels, Morph is killed and Beast is captured and imprisoned by the government. The X-Men manage to
Poor
track down
Morph.
Sentinel's headquarters, free Jubilee, and she decides to join Xavier's cabin. So we kind of talk about that, but let's talk about Morph. Oh man, Dylan, what do you feel about Morph? Because I imagine you didn't feel like you saw the like he's not even on the cover, so you're like, okay, I've seen who the X-Men are. You probably
I
weren't
was very
expecting-
confused. At
Yes.
least for I think the part one, I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy? Like, is this like Mystique who's like pretending to be just some random dude and like infiltrating?" But then we see Mystique later. Spoilers for that. But it was fun because this might be a recurring thing, but a lot of these characters that are more niche characters that I've never seen from live action or other things are just like cards I'm rocking in Marvel Snap, and so Morph is
That's
one of those too.
oh,
You
that's
put him down,
awesome.
and then he just copies a random card from your opponent's hand, so it's a pretty fun card. So it was interesting to see him, but it's funny in that game too. He's like a weird alien, so I don't know if he's like supposed to look like that normally, or if the generic random dude he was in this show is like what he's normally like, what his unmorphed self normally looks like. But that was kind of I think that was what was throwing me off. I was like, it can't be Morph. Morph is a weird alien, but I thought it was. I was very shocked, but maybe not too shocked because of how low key he was in like the marketing and the posters and stuff that they kill off one of the X-Men in the second episode. It's pretty wild.
I wish he was an alien because I just think his plain vanilla face is just
generic
so
white guy
forgettable.
number one.
Yeah, it's
Pretty
so,
forgettable.
so generic and like leading
That's
to
why he
this,
keeps
like,
morphing.
I basically completely forgot about him. Like he's just such a forgettable character just to like showcase a different power. I think Jubilee like going through the mansions like, oh look at this dude that just keeps switching faces or whatnot. So that's kind of fun. And then he just dies very unheroically. Maybe heroically, someone could make that argument. I think unheroically. I don't think he had to die there at all, but he just jumped in there, and I don't know why they chose to send him on that mission either. Like if they're not going to use him for stealth purposes,
He had to
like,
lure the
he's-
guards out of the control room. Remember, that was the whole key point of the mission.
He's not a fighter. He needs to get the fuck out of there once he finishes his task because he just gets murked so quickly. And yeah, I'm not a Morph fan at all. I gotta look up the alien version because I was just unimpressed with this generic
Well,
white guy.
Dude, like the leadership, like it's something I'm interested if like in the third or fourth season, if we get into like a team that's more like that works well as a team, but they're such a shit show in these first few episodes. These plans going into missions, they pretty much the plan is just like, okay, we're gonna send these people, and that's as far as they go. They don't ever really discuss what's our strategy, what's like when do we leave, like well, none of that stuff is discussed. So you're right, like when Morph is thrown in there, it's like this is not a good match for fighting against these people.
All right, Morph, get in there. You just like gets murked. Oh no, what do we do now? Like it's just absolute chaos.
Oh, that guy can't heal, right? He just like dies after one shot. It's like maybe Wolverine should have done that, or Beast or something.
So Taylor, before we move on to update you on the Rogue thing, the reason it happened is because they were fighting. Because I forgot this is the time where Rogue and Nightcrawler are kind of technically brother and sister. Because at one point Mystique adopts Rogue and Nightcrawler is her son. So at this point, when Mystique was doing bad stuff, Rogue was with her. That's how she got in a fight with Captain Marvel. Boom, took the powers and absorbed them for holding on too long. So she was on the bad side. That's how they fought, Miss Marvel and Rogue.
Rogue was on the bad side.
Yeah. So that's why they were
Interesting.
fighting. So and that's how she got the power. So yeah, there you
you
go.
go.
Morph, Taylor, I know you. Is this one of the characters you loathe? Because we know Jubilee. Is this another one?
No, I got a kick
Okay.
out of him. I liked how he was like watching TV, changing like appearances to mock the people on TV. I was like, this guy's my fucking guy.
That's all
Like,
he
I was
does
gonna
on
say,
his, on his
ever-
time off. Watches Fox News, just turns into them.
He's like everyone's really left on X-Men, but he's like super right. But no, I said everyone tell us who you think we are, but I said Taylor's for sure the Morph of our team. I watched that and Taylor's
I
like,
love
yeah,
that
probably
power.
would be. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you wouldn't take the fireworks, but you'll take the morphin, eh?
I would take the Morph.
Creepy
for sure.
bastard.
I'd use it. I'd use it righteously. Yes.
How? What's it? Give me an example of how you're going to use that power
You'd be a
righteously.
trickster. Come
Yeah.
Righteously? I wouldn't be like a Loki, but yeah, I'd use it righteously. What's a good example? I could work as a mall Santa with an authentic beard that doesn't get pulled off, so kids would think I'm the real
Jeez.
deal.
That is
He's
not
out of
the
work for 11 months every year.
But what if you can't you only like morph into like, well, I'm trying to think if you can morph into real or fake people. Could you just morph into something that
Santa's
does
not
like
real?
like yeah, if we're saying Santa isn't real, could you morph into Santa and have the authentic beard?
Or you just morph into
I
like
see. So how
Or
does
do you
the,
morph into a guy that looks kind of like Santa?
yeah, like Tim
and then you're
Allen
just
Santa.
pretending?
Yeah, you're Tim Allen as Santa.
so that's the limit of the power? Then you can't just like change your look to just like, oh, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna look like some
It's
fucking
kinda
like
it's
orange scraggly
copying
hair or
something.
something like that. I see. Interesting.
Yeah. So you
Yeah,
just
we'll
pick
do
a
Tim Allen
Santa.
Santa.
You just go to a mall, you murder a Santa, and then you take his place. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
you have to
morph-
murder him, of course. You can't be seen. There can't be two of the same Santa.
Yeah.
But as far as Morph goes, I definitely don't hate him as much as Kirkland does. I think that he it does suck that he got bopped, but yeah, he is not a fighter at the end of the day. He's just throwing shade and morphing around, changing appearances and all that.
And someone
jazz.
has to be the Boromir, right? Like you got to have stakes. Like someone has to die of the original crew, so hey, we could die at any point, even though we're on the poster.
Would you say Morph is equivalent to Boromir?
You know
Is that
what?
you're saying?
It might not be far off, No, definitely not. But in this situation, I guess he'd be the Gandalf because Gandalf went first, but he came back. So
Wolverine puts on his bracers, gets ready for the war.
yeah, maybe Morph
Morph
will come back
Dilutes
one
his
day.
body.
Yeah, maybe MCU Morph's gonna get his big break, but
One more thing on that. So I had no idea about Morph like going into this show. The only shapeshifter that I was aware of was Raven, Mystique. So now I feel like, okay, we've had 3 shapeshifters in this show, and I feel like, holy smokes, this is a very common thing, like flying and super strength. So
oh yeah, I did. Yeah, because we'll get to the other one later on. Because Leech is also in this. So you're saying that was maybe a mistake to have in the first 7 3 people with the same power?
I think so. I think that there's so many other like superpowers they could have done, but yeah, like Leech was the sewage man, sewage
Yeah.
rat. Okay, yeah.
It got worse. Sewage man, sewage rat. You're sounding like Trask over here. Look at you,
Yeah,
sewage
fucking
mutant.
mutants.
You all stink like sewage. But and also I guess this is a good time to talk about because we're going to talk about a bit more in the next episode. But Beast is like obviously we'll get to him. Wolverine's my guy. He's my favorite, and there's more characters I love in this, but this is my favorite version of Beast. And this is why I love Kelsey Grammer in the one movie we got him because he's similar to this. But I just love the soft-spoken, mild-mannered, very caring. Like you just look at him and on the team, you're like, I don't want anything bad to happen to him. And as it goes along, I just love Beast so much. The connections he gets with characters, especially with Wolverine, because Wolverine's such a brute and just like a hothead, and he'll always try to talk him down. And even just we'll get into it, but in episode 3 and stuff, the choices he makes where he could, maybe have a free life, but he's like, no, I have to go by the Accords and all that. So I absolutely love Beast. He's one of my favorites in this show, and I'm excited to get on more adventures with him. So
Yeah, this is a character that I think my first experience would have been the live action, and I remember watching it like with my dad, and he always said like Beast was such a cool character, and I was always disappointed as a young youth because he never really pops off. But like that's kind of what makes him special is that he looks very like Hulk-like, like ready to just tear people apart. Looks very feral, but he's so much more than that. Like under the surface, that's what makes him so interesting, and I've definitely grown to appreciate that. Just back in the day, it's like why is he never doing anything? Like he's always just talking and just going the more diplomatic approach. But yeah, definitely one that I've grown to love as I've gotten older, and I think this is because Kelsey Grammer, that version is definitely my favorite over the Nicholas Hoult, and like you said, Trav, this one is very, very similar, very reminiscent of that. Probably very inspiring for like Kelsey Grammer's performance of the character, and yeah, I love when he gets put in those situations where it's like, come on, like this is so easy, let's just go down this road, but he does the right thing, and he's always doing the right thing, even just like for like the betterment of like kind of all of X-Men and like mutants like around there. Like he's he's not dying for their sins, but he's at least like doing time for their sins. So I really like the character, and I can't wait to see him just put into other situations moving forward to the show.
Yeah, I want to talk about that moment in episode 3, but I don't think I have much else to add for now. I'm excited to get more of his backstory, or see more about the character and those dynamics. Yeah, I don't think I have a big like perception in my mind of what Beast should be. So I don't know if I'm satisfied or dissatisfied yet with him. More neutral at the moment, which is probably going to be the case for most of these characters, I got to say, at this point in the show, with the exception of a couple that have had kind of big character moments. But Beast is one of those, just feeling neutral.
Yeah, well, we'll go into 3 because that's where some of his moments are. But I have to point out in the Wikipedia there's some guy named Don Glut, and then in oh my god, in what is the fucking, why can I not think of the two?
Brackets,
Thank you,
parentheses.
Prince.
Sorry, what are you holding? You remind me of a priest
his
with your like
paraphrase.
Jesus cross beads.
He reminds me of Tobey Maguire in the promo for the priest at the start of Tropic Thunder.
Oh yes.
Fucking mutants. No, it's just a Halloween thing, and I just like fidget lots of times during cast. But his name is Don Glut, and then in parentheses it says last name misspelled in glute. So they spelled it as Glut, but then in added it's Glutt or Glutt. I don't know why they just didn't fix it. Don't know why they had to add it there, but they misspelled his name, so there you go. But Larry Houston looked like he directed like all these episodes. But yeah, so number 3.
Well, sorry, actually, I have a couple more things on the first episode, so maybe we should do those first.
Oh
before
yeah,
we go?
for sure, yeah. And I actually forgot something too. So
Okay, first of all, the in the mall in that first episode with Jubilation, I guess. I think it's Rogue and Storm. Is there a third person there? Or is it just those two?
Gambit.
Gambit's there too because he's a
Right,
good
yeah,
moment
yeah.
with the cashier. I want to bring up.
And then there's like this whole battle that's going on. That scene there's a couple funny moments. One is I think it's Storm, or I forget which one of those two, is talking about like the Sentinels like shooting lasers at them, but they're like, watch out for those electronic beams, is what they say, which I thought was so funny because I think they use the word lasers like when they're referring to Cyclops and stuff, but I thought that was just like such boomer energy, being like electronic mail. That gave me that kind of thing. It's like, why are you saying electronic beams in front of these lasers? And also when I think Rogue just like picks up that escalator. I don't know if you guys had any reaction to that, but I was like, that just is not what I would expect that to look like. And it was such an interesting set piece that they decided for her to pick up this escalator and like throw it around. It's just so goofy.
Oh yeah, the mall was lots of fun. Just lots of just chaos, people running around, just lots of, and even Storm. It's like same thing like you wrote, Dylan. I don't know if like she's the best one to set, like, because you have this narrative right now where clearly they haven't really got into this yet, but it's like you have Xavier and then there's going to be like a leader, and it always feels like they send people on missions like either Cyclops' leader and Storm's leader, but there's not like the leader yet, but that's what it feels like. It's like, okay, they have their two teams, and Storm's there, I guess, is the leader, but it's also just like if you're sending her and she has weather powers, like she's in an inside environment, like there might be better people to send in that situation. Like Cyclops has also electrical beams that he can shoot
Wait,
out.
weren't they just like walking around the mall? Like not on mission?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
they
you're
weren't
right.
on
She just
mission,
happened
yeah.
to be there.
They were
right,
just hanging
okay.
out,
So it
yeah.
just happened, good old coincidence that Jubilee's run around, stuff like that. But what was a coincidence, yeah, there's this moment where this chaos is going on, and Gambit is like, I guess it's the start of the chaos, so Gambit hasn't maybe heard this, but he's talking to this cashier, and she brings up some game, and then the quote was, he says, I like solitaire unless I got someone to play with. And then he just like leans over and she's just like, oh, and then they like cut away to like the chaos. But like I just love like the amount, like Gambit is just like he's a horny guy. I'm just gonna say that Gambit is just he is the Bond of this group right now. He's just looking for a good time and stuff like that and everything. So
he does not fit in with like any single person in any of these episodes. He's always just the odd man out, I feel like, in the way he's talking, the way he's dressed and stuff like that. Also, I like that the first episode, it might be the first shot or one of the early shots, is just like Sabretooth like thrashing around, destroying stuff, which, you know, is not a plot point until like a couple episodes in. So I thought it was interesting that they are kind of starting to showing Sabretooth doing stuff. I thought that was an interesting choice. In the second episode, again, when they're going through that facility, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but like every single guard was the exact same, just like ginger guard. Like they all look the exact same. It was such a strange show. Like if it was a bunch of dudes with like brown hair or something, I don't know if I would have noticed because I'm used to that kind of thing. But for some reason, all of them were just like had just red hair and they all look the exact same. It's like there's some weird cloning going on with these gingers in this facility. Very strange.
gotta save on that
strange
animation
choice.
budget. You know, like, do I want to draw another guy? Nah, just use that ginger prototype again.
Mm-hmm. I think that's all for the first two episodes for me.
Anything else on 1 or 2?
I like this like running theme. It's not even in the show, just in a lot of like, I guess superhero type things. You have like a character that's just, in an environment like the X Mansion, like Jubilee, and it's just like so like miscommunication is going on and just like chaos. It's just like, hey, do you want to talk? It's always like, holy shit, these people have kidnapped me, and it's just like chaos. And she's
And
just,
Wolverine
like,
comes out with
running
his
away.
claws, and she's like, "Oh no!"
Exactly. Like everyone just looks freaky and is like never like, I don't know, like warming and like welcoming to a character.
One
like
line
that.
of dialogue could end this
Yeah.
whole thing, but no, they're
It's like
all
the tone that they speak to. It's like, hey, what are you doing? It's just like,
Yeah.
it gets me. That part definitely had me laughing.
It's like Xavier told none of them like a guest or a new person was joining. They just dropped them in a room and they're all like a threat.
Yeah, exactly.
But-
She's like running for her life. She thinks she's been kidnapped, never gonna see her family again. My gosh.
Yeah. Well, this is what I forgot because Dylan, we used to. I can't remember if we did this on Clone Wars, but we used to do Spider-Man animation. So I'm bringing it back. The rating system for these is just the thumb system. So what you get the thumb in the middle, 1 thumb up, 2 thumbs up, 1 thumb down, 2 thumbs down. That's what it's going. So. Dylan, what are you giving this on the thumb for 1 and 2? We'll combine them, 1 and 2 together.
I think for 1 and 2, I give it 2 middle thumbs.
2 middle thumbs.
Just an even
Just a
middle
weird
thumb
image.
for both these. Yeah, a weird little side thumb moment for both of them.
Taylor, thumb scale.
I would go 2 thumb. Or
Wow.
like no, sorry, not each. Like episode 1, episode. You know,
Each gets a thumb.
each gets a thumb. Sorry, yeah, that comes off wrong.
Right out of the gate. Classic Taylor. Perfect score.
TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh god.
Kirklin, your thumb rating.
I think I'll do 1 thumb up, 1 thumb middle, and I
Okay.
won't specify which one is which, just to
there
be
you go.
very mysterious.
I love it.
I'm like a 1 thumb for both, just because I think they do like a good job of like introing the world. That's how I'll leave and whatnot. I think they do a good job. There's some fun action in there, and like me and the characters. So talking about me and the characters. Next episode, Enter Magneto. Magneto attempts to break Beast out of prison, but Beast would rather stand trial. Sabretooth demands that Beast be set free and ends up going on destructive rage. I love this. Prompting the guards to shoot and injure him. Cyclops aids Sabretooth and brings him to the mansion's infirmary, which does not sit well with Wolverine. Later, Magneto attacks a military missile facility. So I feel like we should pick up with Beast first because we were just kind of talking about him. But this is what we were referring to where, yeah, they got caught on, like, again, they got caught destroying bad stuff. Like, these are things that are trying to kill mutants. So, like, even the crime he's being persecuted, oh my God. What is it? Persecuted. Thank you for much like in real life. It's like that's where it's like he's still what a noble guy. Like he should be fine to break out because this is not a crime he should be on trial for. Like they're trying to save people, but he'll still stand there and whatnot. So I like that character development of him and just trying to. I think Sabretooth trying to save him is very random, which we'll get into Sabretooth because I love Sabretooth. But Beast is I like to stand here, and again that made his like story at least different from everyone else's, and now he's kind of on his own for a bit. Anything else on Beast?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's interesting because every other character that we know so far in the show would have like taken up Magneto's offer maybe and just like at least escape, not necessarily team up with him and you know join forces, but would at least like escape. So I really liked that decision because I think it kind of what you guys were speaking to with Beast earlier. It's just only a decision that he would make, and it was so compelling because of that. Just the patience that he has and how he wants to. He wants. It's very important to him how mutants are portrayed to the world, whereas other characters are just so fed up with it already. But he like just hasn't given up hope yet. So I like that kind of positivity from him, and also kind of just the logistics of it. That was interesting.
Yeah.
I
Taylor,
don't really
if you're
have
in a
anything else
cell-
to add on to what I already hinted
yeah.
at. So yeah.
Taylor, if you're in a cell and the walls just start to shake, you getting out of there?
No, me and my morph powers, we're gonna just chill,
Right.
hang out.
They'll just turn.
No,
into Magneto, just stare at him.
It's kind of cold now, Eric.
I
Or Magnus,
really,
as he's called in this show. Fuck, we'll get into that. Yeah, Magnus, right. That's
I
not his name.
really do appreciate how they're portraying him in this like in these episodes. Like my experience with Beast, again limited to the movies, but I really like that he's kind of just sticking it out. He's holding firm. He's like, this is how we can progress forwards with mutants and humans and all that kind of jazz. Really cool. And yeah, I think that him choosing to stay back is great, and that's another thing too that kind of separates him again from taking the easy way out and just being more in line with Magneto's kind of, I guess, trend-setting ways he's trying to do.
Trend setting. That's the thing.
Yeah, trendsetter.
Magnus,
He's a
the
real
trendsetter. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's talk about good old Magnus in this episode. Obviously, like I feel like he's one of everyone's favorite Marvel villains. We have lots of stuff with him in the movies. He always was in them and stuff like that. But what do you guys think of this version? You got the full on, pretty much comic book accurate costume. To me, you got a fantastic voice actor here. I love
I
Magneto's
agree.
voice, just so powerful. And to me, I think this is a good introduction. The same way as like before, he's saving. If you watch this for the first time, he's saving one of our heroes, right? So you go, oh, this must be a good guy. And then classic, it ends up 20 minutes later where he's just trying to pop off and destroy missiles. And you're like, okay, you've gone too far. So obviously, it's a very rushed 20-minute get the story of Magneto. But I think for what they're doing, I think it works because he comes off as someone you could maybe trust, and then okay, he's taken things too far and a little backstory sprinkled in. So I think it's a really good introduction to Magneto.
Yeah, I think it's good to get him in there in the third episode. And once again, throwback to the Spider-Man show, which so many episodes are just titled Enter blank
Yes.
villain name. So I like having Enter
great.
Magneto. It was a fun thing to do. But yeah, of course, he gets away at the end of this episode, and he's still existing. I'm sure for the rest of the 5 seasons, he'll probably just be bumping around and showing up, I
He'll be around,
assume.
yeah.
So yeah, I like that element of it. And we get a little bit of backstory of him and Professor X and what happened on there. But yeah, I agree with you. The aesthetics, both the voice and the look of it are just fantastic. Really glad that he's in here.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's such a badass opening, that shot too, when he's just like standing there with like the magnetism sphere around him, and you can't even see his face. It's just like black silhouette with like these like sharp piercing eyes. It's just such a badass image, and like right away it's like holy shit, who is this character, like if you didn't know about him already. And I think throughout the episode, like his powers are, they just they seem so badass and powerful, and I think they just do such a good job at maybe making it not so clear like what his intentions are, like his intentions, but like kind of where he aligns. Like, is this guy an X-Men? Is this guy neutral? Like where I feel like there's just a certain intrigue that they just really execute well on the opening of this character. That I mean, now I like, I've been through so much with him, whether it was Michael Fassbender, whether it was Ian McKellen, and to have this new actor, I guess you could call it voice actor, and just design for the character, I'm really digging it. So it's a great first impression, at least on me.
I like that. I feel like in the movies they always try and be very specific of any time he uses his powers. Like, they show the metal that he's using, so that you like, it's very believable and more realistic or something like that. This show does not really care about that. Like, he just has like spheres of magnetism.
Oh yeah,
he can just,
yellow
he can pretty much
beams.
just throw whatever he wants, and you just kind of got to believe it. Who cares how much there's like actually metal that you can visibly see? And I like it. I think it's fun. It fits the kind of vibe of the show, and you don't need to go through all that detail of what exactly is metal and what's not. No one really cares.
Yeah, plus here you get like less nuance, right? Because it's not like an actor being able to show, like, even with his hands or his face, like what he might be doing. This is like, you got to go kind of over the top. That's why, like, in the movies and stuff, it's like, okay, when he flies, it's because he's pushing off metal, this and that. In this one, he just has like a big yellow, like, or big white ball of energy around him, and people can't pierce his shield because it's supposed to be some sort of, well, he's controlling this and doing this, but really it's just in this, like, okay, it's a switch, and he's just like very OP, and he's like, just like, because when he leaves with Beast, he got out of there very easy. He just floated away. He's destroying stuff, throwing it around. And well, you referred to Kirklin. That's like a big tribute to the comics as far as like the black and just the eyes. They do that. Like, there's another X-Men series called X-Men Evolution, and for like the entire first season, that's all he was just, you never saw his face. It was just the eyes and stuff, which in comics was always weird, because then when the helmet comes off, he has regular human eyes. But that's just the way.
We don't question that.
Yeah,
Part of his
it looks
magnetism
cool.
It's the
power, right?
magnetism.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, Taylor, what do you think about Magnus here?
Magnus. So when I started watching these early in the morning before work, I thought, okay, like, it's gonna be a while before we get into any of these fancier characters here. I thought, okay, Sentinels to start off the season here, that's great. We have this huge kind of like pull, and then it's gonna kind of fizzle out like most shows do, and then build up towards the end and the finale. But no, we got Magneto, just Magnus thrown right in here. I thought, holy shit, this is great. And I was not expecting to see him in this position of like, hey, Beast, let's get the fuck out of here. Now,
Exact line.
Now, we've seen, obviously, like, through the TV reports before, like Sabretooth and all these other characters, and we kind of allude to, okay, we got some bad mutants out here, so Magneto would have been in the background. But yeah, Magnus just popping up is just awesome. And yeah, his abilities, like I feel like without proper dialogue to explain it, I just feel like he could have done anything. Just like even control the moon or the sun and make them implode on each other. Like he's just
change his face.
yeah, he's got like
He
incredible
morphs.
powers. I didn't know he could do like this magnetism force field sphere around him, and he's just talking to Beast and just does this force field. He's just chilling. These guys, their laser guns are doing jack shit on him. So
I guarantee you in MCU they're gonna go. This is gonna be very similar. I think they're gonna go very cartoony, very over the top. Because like the other ones, they are like, oh, he's doing this, and he's like, make you see little indentations of the metal move. I think they're gonna go full on like power, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, just colors everywhere. 'Cause I think why not? You know, like as long as you make it like realistic. But I think like what Thanos does with the gauntlet, you're gonna have him doing with his stuff. Also, making butterflies and everything.
Are
But
we gonna see his face, or it's just gonna be a black silhouette with the?
it'd be great if you had an
piercing
end credit scene of that, and then you don't get to see who the actor was until the next movie, you know. But no,
Mm,
it is kind of straight. Like they'd have to do it in a way where Tom Holland has like the electronic suit, right? So no, you'd maybe just like I don't know how they do. Maybe a bright light shines him in the face, and you just see his pupils.
He's just smiling.
Oh, it just dilated just to whatever. But yeah, and I love, and also they did variations of it. I was always mad in the end of First Class when they gave him a not exactly like this, but a suit that was very red and purple, and then they took it away in the next movie. That's what I'm very excited for in live action, to get something just so over the top, like how Jonathan Majors and Ant-Man coming up is just like purple and green everywhere, and he just like I want this. I want such a just a right in your face like huge ass Magneto cape. I want that purple popping off. So, and I love this. I think this was a good introduction and stuff like that. And then now I guess we could talk about we got our introduction of Sabretooth here. A Sabretooth that this is one where I never know what they'll do in MCU as far as the look, because I don't even know what it is. Like we were talking about that, like, is it a skin? Is it a suit? We don't really know. It's just like, it's just on him. But that hair, the fur is his. Like, that's a part of his body. But like this, like, if he has this like hide around his body, does he have no genitals then? I don't know. I love the look. I love the color scheme, everything. And I love the voice actor. It's so over the top and so loud and nails on a chalkboard. But it's like higher pitch, but it feels like it works for the Sabretooth. But also we just meet him here a little bit. We get much more in a few episodes. So Taylor, how are you feeling about Victor Creed here?
I'm really liking Victor Creed. This is my favorite interpretation out of the other two, because we had the Twilight version that me and Kirklin talked about, and then we had the Liev Schreiber version that was in the.
I don't know if that's how you say it. I don't know. There's an L in
how you
Liev
say it.
Schreiber. Yeah.
Liev Schreiber. This version is just, it takes the cake. I love it. I just feel like this is the closest I'm gonna get to Bigfoot, like in the X-Men here. It's just fantastic. He's just so rowdy, and yeah, I'll save my thoughts more for when we get to his episode later on.
Mhm,
Yeah,
in the Arctic.
He feels like the Twilight version Taylor, but like wearing a suit. Also, like that's what my mind goes when I see this character, and I love it. Like it's very much over the top. Like it'd be hard to picture this dude looking so yellow or orange, whatever color he is, on like a live action
combo.
with other characters. But I love it, and like Travis mentioned, like the voice actor's just got that powerful feral voice. Then he's bringing it for sure, and just such an untrustworthy looking character though. So they're like, we gotta help this guy. Like let's just take him back to the mansion.
His eyes alone.
It's like, come on, this guy just looks like a bad guy. But you know what? Maybe that's leaning into the whole beast thing, right? You know, looks can be deceiving. So good on them for being trustworthy. But I would have been like, I don't know, guys. Like he's looking a little sketchy, and you know, Jubilee makes a bad judgment error.
Thank
later on,
you.
but-
I forgot about that. Fucking Jubilee again. Another reason why she's so she's daft. Yeah, your
Let me
poor
really
wrists.
Take these off for a second.
And I
Why
think
don't you give Sabretooth credit for being such a sweet tongue, smooth tongue that he was able to get?
He is
her
smooth.
to
Yeah,
convince her.
like the way he's talking in that moment, he does seem nice and you know, not super sketchy.
Just call him Saber Tongue then instead of Sabretooth.
Saber tongue.
Oh, I don't know.
Saber
about
tongue.
That's something.
that. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that like out of all the characters, I felt like they did a lot of face zoom-ins on him across these episodes. There's just something about like the design of his face that they had down to a science, and they really wanted to show it off or something like that. But I feel like there's so many shots, maybe particularly in the snow episode later on, where it's like they are zoomed in on his face, and it looks great. Like they really had it down, like every element of his design. So this is a character that has always been known as one of the bigger X-Men villains. I've never really had much attachment to him. I'm liking his use here. He shows up a lot, obviously mentioned in the first episode, but he's in like this episode, the next one, and then like the Snow one coming up too. So he's all over the place. I still feel like I want a bit more of his backstory with Wolverine. They just mention it a bunch, but I don't really know what's going on there. I don't have the comic background to know like what exactly went on. And we get a little bit of going into his background with the next episode. Professor X goes in his head, but I want a little bit more between him and Wolverine beyond what is just kind of implied. So I think that's what I'm hoping for, but who knows what's going to happen with him because something happens to him in a later episode here. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, Taylor, you're saying that'd be your closest to Bigfoot. I say no, and I raise you Sasquatch, who is a member of Alpha Flight. They're the Canadian X-Men. So maybe one day...
That's not the one that was killed in Werewolf by Night, was it?
No. I don't think so. So, and to put your expectations, I don't think Sasquatch is in this series. There might be some brief appearance, but maybe in the
Fantastic
MCU,
Four movie, right? That's what it's saving for.
That's where he's coming and stuff like that.
His own standalone.
Sasquatch.
There is a Fantastic Four animated series that had one season. So.
There it, yeah. A
shows
lot
are
of
there.
them had the one season, yeah, and then I think you get a little more alluded to, but I think they play it pretty low key as far as Wolverine's here. Like there is some stuff, but I feel like it is this where it's like a few sentences of, hey, we worked together and did some bad, like he did some bad stuff.
He killed
to some of
my friends.
Yeah, he did some bad stuff to my friends, and now they just immortally hate each other. Like they just will always just want to fight and stuff. But
then I feel like everyone's always putting down Wolverine's side of it. They're like, oh, he's not that bad. Like, come on, give him a chance, kind of thing. It's like, it's like I don't know, what happened. Like, did he kill his friends? Did they both? Was it what? Like, that's what I want to know. I want to be able to have my perspective.
How did he kill your friends? Like, was it an accident, or did
was
he
it
like
malicious,
mob?
or was he just a bad driver? Like, what's
yeah.
going on?
Was there an argument? Did they steal something? Like, no, we killed them all. But
I like when Wolverine was just going up to the sick bed. Like, he was ready to just end his life right then and there. And everyone's like, hold up, what's he doing?
I love that line from Wolverine. He's like, how come we got to thrash on your enemy, but we got to go easy on mine?
That was
I
good.
really
yeah,
love that
I had
line.
that in there. Yeah, it's a really good one because it's just like it's a good dynamic of they don't, and even Xavier, like he just gives we work together, and they get I guess we didn't talk about it. We get the backstory of, oh, hey, we were, he saved me, and then we started the school, and then there was the camp. There was this campfire scene where they're pretty much saying like Nazi soldiers. I don't think they say the word Nazi, but they're saying
they
like that.
Yeah.
But and then Magnus is just gonna like go first class. He's gonna kill them all, and Xavier thinks no, this is a bad idea, and then they part ways and stuff like that. So I like that quick. So again, but much like Sabretooth, it's only a quick line. So, but at the same time, Xavier, I don't like, he hasn't instructed the X-Men to kill Magneto per se, right? They've just said stop, where like Kirklin alluded to, Wolverine's just ready to fucking decapitate this man in the X-Mansion, Julie's second day, and she's going to see this Sabretooth guy that she likes decapitated by Logan. So it's a risky move. Let's see here. What am I?
We got Magneto popping off too.
Yeah. No, the fight was really good. I like the missile Terry base and stuff, and I like that Cyclops got to be in the mission this time and stuff like that. Oh, I forgot to mention Beast. That he doesn't get bail. That was the other big thing too. He's going to trial, and they're going to see if he get bail. That didn't happen there and stuff like that. So, yeah,
they deny him bail. He's a risk to the public or something.
Yeah,
that is what they say.
And then there's one line where Sabretooth, they allude to this in the synopsis, but he's on the ground and the cops all point their guns at him, and Cyclops goes, they're going to kill him. And they cut the Wolverine. He's like, good. And obviously they
Wolverine has like by far the best dialogue. Do you guys agree with that?
Oh,
yeah.
Across
the
these
one-liners.
episodes?
Yeah.
And his delivery of those one-liners, I think, just boosts it so much.
Yeah, the voice is spectacular.
Dylan, you
That's-
did a good one. I was impressed. I thought I was
Thanks.
watching.
I'll try and
X-Men
bring it up.
too.
Anytime I have a
Yeah.
quote from him, I'll
It's
try
good.
it again.
And that's a good thing. These voice actors are coming back. Obviously a little aged, but that's fine because they're going to be aged up a little bit too. So anything else on episode 3, Enter Magneto?
Yeah, it's tricky. Everything rolls into the next episode, so I feel
Yeah.
like it goes right into the next one we got here. So I'm ready to move on.
This one's like it's not a two-thumber. It's like a thumb, and like the other one's a little bit up, but like
I'd give it. I'd give it one good.
Yeah,
thumb.
one thumb. Yep.
I would also give it one good thumb. That
Mm-hmm.
Magneto in entrance was just so epic for me.
Good lord.
Speaking of magnet, oh my god.
I give it a thumb.
Okay, and now we go on to deadly reunions. And here's one where just one sentence. Professor X tries to heal Sabretooth against Wolverine's warnings while Magneto attacks the chemical plant in order to attract the attention of Professor X. Done. Done right there.
I,
Go ahead, Taylor.
are you sure?
No, I'm certain. Go ahead.
You sure? You sure?
I just want to say off the top, I feel like yes, they got the humans out of that factory, but no, they're all fucked. They're getting like diseases or something because I think most of them were breathing in toxic gases. And even for the X-Men, I'm amazed that they're surviving because Cyclops got
Yeah.
like doused with fucking something bad.
And then Rogue puts her lips on him too, so like she's just ingesting it and stuff. But you know, Wolverine, he'll be okay because he can heal. But yeah, it's they're going to some like a government, like the first 3 to 4 episodes, they're going to a government site, and then they're going to a missile like base, and now they're going to this factory. They're going to some very risky fight locations where it could go bad for all these mutants, you know.
And
So,
once again, very poor planning.
Yeah.
And also just like bad choreography. Like they are not a good team yet, which
No.
once again, I'm so curious to see how that evolves. But you're right. Like so many people got messed up. Rogue absorbing Cyclops' powers, which I thought this was so funny because she's shooting beams everywhere. And she's like, how do I get to stop
do
it?
I
He's like,
stop it,
close
Scott?
your eyes. And she's like, oh, that's a great idea. I should try that out. I thought that was fucking hilarious.
that's when you know, okay, this is a show for kids. Like in that moment, that's you're like, okay, like why wouldn't you even try it? Like you're gonna.
How do you even
blink,
open your
right?
eyes for that long? Like, don't you gotta blink at some point? You guys, your eyes must be super dry if you're shooting lasers like that.
Oh yeah.
There is a good little like
Sorry, electronic beams, not lasers.
Yeah.
Electronic beams.
there's a good little kind of like subtle moment where she tried to cover her face with her hands, but her hands got burned while she tried to do it. I appreciate that little
Yeah, what if she
bit
just-
of detail.
Destroyed her hands.
No
Cut her hands off.
Yeah. Just who's gonna fly the Blackbird now, Rogue? Come on, think about this. I did like again, it's not like sexual tension, but I did like when he was down and she's like, I'm sorry about this, Scott. I hope you can make what was the exact line? Make a girl feel welcome, and then she starts to perform CPR on him. Just that one line I really enjoyed there.
His powers came later on, right? Like he wasn't just born out of
Yeah,
the
he was
womb,
with a
just like
teen,
blasting
yeah.
lasers in the hospital.
Well, they showed in the credits there. Remember, he's just on a hill, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh!" Because he's not in. I think legitimately that's what they're trying to show us. That's his origin. Because he's not in X costume. He's in regular clothes. He has glasses on, and then all of a sudden he's just like, he can't control it. So I think the credits is his origin. I think when he was like a teenager,
just hit puberty. Just
yeah, just happened. You know?
Crazy stuff, man.
And then also, so this is the one where they talk about the synopsis, but Xavier's like, yeah, he's going through Sabretooth's mind, like Dylan talked about. Did you guys see any specific character in the flashes of them? They're showing off different characters. There was
I don't know. I didn't see anyone in particular, but I loved all those weird demons and creatures that we got to see, which is like, man, if you're seeing these creatures and whatnot, like on a daily basis, like Sabretooth, like I can understand why you're a bit crazy, but I love the designs of all those creatures.
Yeah, one of them, when they were showing all the faces, was Deadpool. So you do see him for a quick second, his mask
interesting.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
And another one, as you guys won't know, you will know later on, one of my favorite X-Men villains, Omega Red. He's like this Russian villain who's jacked, and he has like Doc Ock like tentacles, and he's just like, he just looks like 90s cheese perfection, and I'm very excited for him to pop up at some point.
There was one too. It was like a floating dragon head. It looked like pulled right out of Dragon Ball Z. It had like the golden hair and like the same eyes as Shenron. So I appreciate that guy. I don't know if he's a real X-Men villain or something, but
I think they all are. Yeah, I should have got the
Yeah,
names of them all because I can't remember who exactly they show. But because I think Deadpool, again, to get expectations, I think he only appears here and there. He's never a character. You never get the Merc with the Mouth. Plus, this is the era where Deadpool was not the Merc with the Mouth. He was just like an assassin. He later on becomes like the fourth wall break, stuff like that. So in this era, there wasn't that like, oh, he would have been all quippy. No, he was just an assassin on the Weapon X team with Logan and Sabretooth.
When was Deadpool like introduced? Was he later?
I think it's like sometime I think it's sometimes like maybe like late 80s. Let me find out
Okay.
here because like it starts as he's just like a Deathstroke copy. Like that's what he has from DC. He's just like so he debuted 1990. So there you go.
Wow,
And I
okay.
don't know when the shift was over. I think it was like later 90s, early 2000s when he really started to get into
cool.
whatever. So yeah, he's a very even then. It's like 3 years. He's already appearing in a show. So
Omega Red looks very much just like an X-Men version of Whiplash from Iron Man 2.
yeah, but much cooler. Much cooler. You know. So.
I did love the crossover between Sabretooth and Charles. It was just like Charles with like the mutton chops and like the Sabretooth eyes.
It's
just
kinda
an interesting
unsettling.
image. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that it's like I love in anytime comics, movies, games, anytime Xavier's in someone's head, that's when he can walk. He's never in the chair, like he's walking.
He was
around doing-
flying.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it's like, I want to be like Rogue. Bring me Captain Marvel. And I guess technically I spoke too soon that they actually showed Xavier and Magneto's origin in this episode, not in 3. That's actually I had that in my notes. That's when we got that.
Yeah.
So they kind of blend
Which
together.
I was curious about that because I always assumed that Magneto's helmet is what prevented Xavier from going into his head.
Not here.
Is that not the case? Is that like just a movie thing, Travis?
I think
or
it's
what's going
gone
on
back
there?
and forth. I think it has been a thing in comics before, but that might have been later on because I know there is comics where it's like we got to get the helmet off. So I think maybe at this point it wasn't.
I wondered if it was something where he could go into his head in a way where he could bring up memories or go into memories, but he wouldn't be able to control him. Maybe is that like the limit of it? He at
I
least
could
weakens
buy
the
that.
power.
Yeah, I could buy that as like you're just
Which I like
projecting
that because then
stuff. Yeah.
Xavier has to kind of be clever about how he's doing things. He can't just like be OP and just delete this person from doing anything. He kind of has to like, okay, dig through their head. What is going to rattle them to win this exchange? So I kind of like that more actually. But
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how that continues in this show. I'm going to be keeping an eye out for the consistency of that. I'm very curious.
Oh yeah. And, go ahead, Taylor.
I was just gonna say, so at this point, like while we have like things unfolding at the mansion with Sabretooth, Wolverine, all that kind of stuff, or was that the previous episode? That
No,
this
this
episode, wasn't it?
was this one too because this is when he like reveals the Jubilee. He was
Right.
tricking her. He's like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
stupid
yeah.
kid. Yeah.
I felt like, okay, when we see like Jubilee here, I thought, okay, Jubilee's the only one here, and it was super weird because the rest of the team was out, and I thought, okay, like
Leave
my one.
Jubilee alone with Saber.
Well, that's just it. When Wolverine came in, I thought this is great. We got Wolverine here, but then I clicked. I was like, okay, wait a minute. Where the fuck is Gambit and oh, I can't remember. No, not
Storm?
Rogue, not Storm, because they were
Jean
all
Grey.
Jean. Yes, what were these two? And I feel like they've been absent for the past couple
Jean
episodes.
Grey
here.
has got like 5 minutes of screen time across these 7 episodes. I swear.
Yeah, it gets more, especially a couple later seasons. Like Jean Grey is like almost the main character of the show, so I feel like that was maybe. It's not great for now because you don't learn much about Jean. She's just there, and she's just like Charles. Like she just says things with lots of breath in her. But like I feel like I don't know if that was on purpose. If they know, hey, if we get more seasons, she's going to be our main character, or if it was just she's just kind of around and stuff. Also, we get a few more stuff coming up in the next few episodes we'll talk about. But yeah, like leaving Jubilee and Wolverine back was not like send Wolverine on the mission, and stuff like that. Like that's a smart move. Leaving Jubilee there. Not so smart, So.
For Jean, I'm actually glad that they're definitely taking their time with just the more use of her, because it just seems like in some of these instances it wouldn't have made sense if she doesn't just like dispose of them like right away, because she just seems so powerful for like some of these criminals that they're fighting, at least in these early stages of the show. So I am excited to get to her, especially because I'm expecting like an interesting plot point with her. But I like her kind of just being just vanished for these early parts. I guess it doesn't really make the most sense because it's like, what would she be doing if she's just like at the beach or something, chilling out or whatnot?
She's
But
like-
I'm happy that she's not
Yeah.
there though, just for like the stakes of it.
She's like Xavier's ward. Like she's always just like around Charles and stuff like that. And I think like the good thing is she can be very OP, but like as we've seen in these episodes, they don't send her because she's not like Charles. Like she can't control all this stuff yet, right? Like she's very
Right.
powerful, but she's not like a master of it. And then you can make the argument why isn't Charles going on these missions too? But that's a whole nother question.
Makes an appearance.
He does. But I feel like there's a couple he should really go and just get him a big suit of armor and he'd be popping off. And
Like a Hulk smasher or something.
I just. Yeah, he can walk again, everything, Like Rhodey lost his legs, and then by the end of
Yeah.
Civil War, he was walking again. You're telling me in the MCU they can't get Charles like that is a good point, though.
Are you saying there's a chance that Morph comes back and he is still alive out there?
As
somewhere?
Luke Skywalker says, no one's ever really gone, But like that is a good point in the MCU. Why is Charles not going to be able to walk when you have all Stark tech and he's going to be like that? Actually
Maybe he will
makes
be.
zero
They might change
sense.
it.
Well, there is a comic recently where he can walk again, so they should go with that, because it literally makes no sense. Why would Rhodey be able to walk and not him?
Well, they did in the movies, right? He suppressed his powers, and then he was strutting around the mansion.
Yeah, that's suppressive power. I'm saying throw on a couple of Stark braces on him, and he can still do this. He's good to go. No, Rhodey's like, it's just mine. Rhodey could save the world, but he like saves these bracers for himself. So, anything else on episode?
When Charles and Magnus have their little stare down, there's just one moment when Charles gets like thrown off his chair, and he's like laying, and he like just kind of leans up, and he just looks like he's in such a seductive pose, and I can't get over Charles's like just super Giga Chad looking like face that they have him here. It's like super defined cheekbones. He just seems like
Dude, his
so-
eyebrows are intense.
He's got such a powerful
that could be
face.
his weapon, man. Like those things could kill.
Like looks can kill. Yeah, he could cut diamonds with those.
Literally
cheekbones of
looks
his.
can
Yeah. His look. I feel like I haven't fully digested it yet. It's every time I see it, it's just he's just looking very, very powerful of a face. I feel like that's the best way
It's
to
not a
describe it.
welcoming face like Patrick Stewart. You're
It's
saying?
not welcoming whatsoever. Definitely,
It's
not.
intimidating. I understand why Jubilee would have ran out of that mansion seeing that.
You're
I
safe.
feel like half the time she's running in this show. Like they got that running animation down for her, and they're like, let's use that as much as we possibly can.
To me, she's like me in the early days of Warzone when I just said I'll play, but I'll just be like the distraction guy. That's Jubilee all the time. But she's not meaning to. Like that's not the game plan. She just is. But yeah, she's just running amok in these things. So.
I want to talk about Storm in this
Sure,
episode.
yeah.
I feel bad because I laughed, and I think it's just I just caught me off guard because she's always been super composed, super badass, and everything.
Are you bringing up what she's scared of?
Yes,
That's next
Yeah.
episode.
No, it happens here though.
Does
like,
it?
Yeah, in the factory when they're trying to escape and Storm gets incapacitated.
Oh, I thought it was 5. I had my notes.
Because they focus on it more like in the training session of the next episode.
Yeah.
But they highlight it here where
What's she
the
scared of,
whole
Taylor?
she's scared of claustrophobia, and so when
She's scared of claustrophobia.
Scared of
claustrophobics terrify her
You're
so much.
claustrophobic? None of them in my school.
She's been so composed, so badass and everything, and so finally we have the scene here where she's the wall is coming down to crash on her from the factory crumbling. And like they do a super close up of her face, and it's like no, and then it overlays with a flashback of her being a kid and the roof crumbling. I was like, whoa, this got so real so fast, and then she gets crumbled.
And that's a great thing about the show where it is like you would look at it, you go, oh, like why is a mutant this big like powerful woman that's kicking ass scared of claustrophobia? But I think that's one of the bright spots of the show is it tackles things like I think that people with disabilities or suffer from these things that can latch on of, hey, there is this powerful mutant that is like an omega level, but she could still be scared by these enclosed spaces, and like it's her having to deal with it and overcome that and stuff. And that's where it's like it's not, that's what I love about the X-Men. It's not just the top level like sex rotation or race, it's just like everything in between and stuff. And yeah, I always honestly forget about it every time I boot up a season, and I'm like, right, they made this choice with Storm. And what I like about it too is that it's not just it happens in one episode. By the end of the episode, she's like, I'm no longer scared of small spaces. Like it reoccurs throughout the season, and that's what I like. Where we have that so many times in shows where something comes up, especially in Kitchener's Day, and then by the end, it's like I've completely overcome my fear. It's like no, this takes some time, and especially one episode we're getting up to, it's horrifying the screams that Storm lets out when something happens. So yeah, I actually like the choice quite a bit.
I think it's something they try and do with particularly the X-Men more over other Marvel characters is where they try and make the powers, both the pros and the cons of these powers, be reflections of like that character's personality and stuff. And I think it's a good thing that do to layer it, where like yeah, even like Storm's powers too, right? Travis, what you're saying of like if she's inside a building and she has like weakened powers, like that's like kind of part of the claustrophobia in a way. Is like if she's in an enclosed space, she can't really use her powers, and therefore she feels less powerful, and that kind of rolls back into the claustrophobia thing. And that even kind of goes into what we were talking about with Professor X, where like they really don't want him to be running around punching people and stuff. Like they want to just focus everything on like him having this huge brain. And it's like if any power was like being used for him to like walk, that would like make his mind powers less powerful, and for him that would not be a good inflection of the character. So I think that's something they really like to highlight with the X-Men in particular.
Yeah, well said. I just add on to what Dylan said. I like how, like the powers that Storm has, like it makes her so, like it's such a powerful like move set. I would say like her kit is so powerful, but like it really is just stressed on her kind of being free in a way that she can like really move around and like just access all the elements, and then you put her in a closed space, she can't do that. I like how that is just basically turned into a phobia where, you know, anyone could deal with that. I don't think I'm very claustrophobic, but, you know, put me in a room like she might be put into a few episodes down the line, and I'd probably be freaking out as well. So I do like how they, like, these are superheroes, but they do a really good job at humanizing them in a way that they share a lot of just struggles that everyone would kind of deal with. And there's a lot of just Storm stuff so far in the show that has just kind of surprised me. Like, I feel like I never knew that she was from Cairo or anything. I know that they gave Halle Berry like an accent for like a movie or something. Yeah. And then it just kind of disappears. Here I don't know what like an Egyptian accent would sound like, but I guess might sound something like this because she does keep it throughout the entire show, I think, at least so far from what I've seen. So
and I hope in the movies that happens too.
Yeah, and I just for Storm in general, I'm really liking just what I'm seeing of her, and I think her look is again she's got a powerful look. A lot of these characters have very powerful looks, and I know again, I think comparing it to Halle Berry, I think she gets this look at like later on with like the more like crazy hair, but I can't quite remember at this point in time.
Which look
just like the super big white hair. Does Halle Berry get that?
No,
or no?
never really. Like it, and I don't know if the MCU will, because she has a lot of hair. Storm like that, like she like flying around,
It's
but
like a tornado.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, they do the white eyes, but I don't think they ever do the hair, right?
Yeah, so no, I don't. I think there's variations of it, but never as sprawling out and stuff. So maybe one day. So, anything else on Deadly Reunions?
I'll give it a thumb up.
I'll give it a thumb up as well.
I'll do a thumb.
I'll do a thumb as well.
Oh, look at that.
There you go. Thumbs
Thumbs.
across the board. Episode 5, Captive Hearts. Cyclops and Jean are captured by a group of humans called the Morlocks when they go on a romantic date, much to Logan's hurt. Storm battles their leader, Callisto, for control of the underground mutant group. I'm very excited to talk about this one because obviously we're getting to a dynamic that we've only talked about a little bit. But I will say that it's weird that Spider-Man has this, like, each animated show needs like a sewer like group
Sewer
or
freaks.
people, because Spider-Man has Lizard, and we'll get to it to Batman. They have a sewer freaks episode, and I fucking not a big fan of theirs. And even then I'm like, right, it's more like I'm not a fan of us other than Spider-Man Lizard. I'm not a fan of us going down to the sewer. It just kind of it opens up lots of questions. But so this is not one of my favorite episodes, but it does really, because the first episode's maybe like just merely hinted at, but it introduces us to the ever classic, the obviously much memed about, talked about Logan, Jean, Scott dynamic, where Jean Grey and Scott are a couple right now. They are, a pair, the boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you want to say. And Logan is from afar wanting what Scott has and stuff like that. And it opens up, and you talk about a line that, man, I just love that. Logan's in his room, shirt off. And him and Jean are talking and stuff like that, and Jean goes to help him up, and he just is like, "Oh, Jean," and Jean's like, "I gotta go, Scott's waiting for me," and then Logan just says, "But I'm waiting for you." Actually, I think that's yeah. Oh no, he said, sorry, "So am I." That's what he said. "So am I," and Jean leaves. So obviously, and I'm very excited to talk to Dylan about this, because Dylan, we had a big dynamic of Peter in the middle in the Spider-Man show, and it was MJ and Felicia. So where are you currently right now? We got Jean in the middle. Are you Team Scott or are you Team Logan?
Yeah, it's once again, I feel like in Spider-Man we at least we get the introductions of those characters and we see the arc of it, whereas in this you're kind of thrown into it.
Yeah.
And Jean and Scott are already an established duo, so it makes Wolverine just look like the guy who's trying to get in there and trying to split them up, but at the same time he doesn't want to do it in a mean-spirited way, I guess. Even though he considers it. I got a quote here from later on the episode, but
he wants Jean to do it. He wants Jean to do the shitty stuff, like, you end it with him and then I'll be here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm really liking this this dynamic so far, and I can tell already this is going to be a lot of fun as well. I mean, this is where that famous Wolverine meme image comes from, and that was a real pop off moment for me when that happened in the show. I love seeing him holding that image in the bed is so good, so
And
good.
I'll ask you, like I'll ask the other guys, where did he get this picture from? Does he own this picture? Did he take it from their room?
Scott gave it to me.
Right? Yeah, I don't take him as much of a photographer, or even like I don't think Wolverine's the
together,
kind
get
of guy who puts a picture in a frame, right? Like I could never envision that. That just
So that's my
wouldn't
thing.
fit the
Like, did he
character.
just swipe it from their room? Like, and that's a questionable thing in my opinion. He just go around swiping their own personal photos.
I like it more that Scott's the one that just put it in his room.
Oh, yeah.
Wolverine, take a look at this.
Here's a housewarming gift. It's me and my girlfriend Jean. He's like oblivious. Like, we're madly in love. I hope you find this one day. And it's like, and then of course it ends with him putting the gash through.
Yeah.
Poor Scott. But yeah, Taylor, where are you on this this love trio? Because this is just the beginning stages. We will be talking about this many moons over for the next few seasons.
I feel like I've always been more on the team of Jean and Wolverine, being together. That's
Nice
kind
rhyme
of-
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like their kind of relationship dynamic. Scott, I feel like he likes being in the relationship. He definitely cares for Jean, but he's definitely, X-Men first, Jean second. For Wolverine, I feel like I'd throw it all away just to be with Jean. And I feel like Wolverine's like, he's passionate. He reminds me a lot of Anakin in this. Like, he's very passionate, very hot tempered.
Sand.
Yeah.
Totally.
See, I actually don't think your assessment's wrong about Scott putting the team over here, but I think the part of your assessment you're missing is Jean almost would want Scott to put the team over her, right? That's the part that I think Logan doesn't understand, where it's like, but he should just be around all the time taking care of you. But she, much like Scott, wants like the betterment of mutants, so she understands that she can't be the be all end all. Where for Logan, it is you're the be all end all. Like you're getting like he gets very upset in these next few episodes over some things, makes some drastic choices. But Kirklin, also we've seen it, movie, Marston, Jackman, Femke, but now here we are in the animated field. I don't know what the fuck I combined.
Sphere
words.
field.
Sphere is what I heard,
field, yeah.
The field. Yeah, it's interesting because in the live action, I feel like I'm always rooting for like Wolverine and Jean, and it might just be like a Hugh Jackman effect. It might just be because of
James
just the
Marsden gets
plot
2
of-
lines in each movie
yeah,
as well.
I was gonna say like they don't really do much for that character to make him seem like I don't know, like a good leader, like a good badass, and just a good man in general. He just always seems super whiny over like just Jean, even possibly considering this whole Wolverine dynamic. And he's just I don't know, it's just kind of whiny, but like here,
in the movie when he says like you better stay away from my girl, you wouldn't animated Cyclops wouldn't say that. He would just
no,
be
like
like
that's something
you should
Flash Thompson would
respectfully
say.
Yeah,
talk
take
to
this
Jean."
picture of my girl and me.
Yeah. We love you,
Exactly.
Logan.
But like here in the animated series, like I feel like already just in the first handful of episodes, like they do a lot more than what James Marsden's Cyclops can do. Like he just seems like more of a good guy and like a strong leader or whatnot.
Yeah, at least the
like-
strong leader part. He's always around
Yeah.
kicking ass. Where in the movies he always gets like knocked unconscious and Logan has to lead the team.
loses his glasses.
Yeah.
All he can do is like stare at
Yeah.
the ground. So,
What do
yeah.
I do? Do I close my eyes?
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like here I actually am more in the camp of Cyclops and Jean. At least like so far, they just seem like a good strong couple. It's not just like they're kind of staring at each other's eyes, metaphorical eyes, and just in love. Like more so, like they actually seem like a decent enough, healthy like relationship, companionship, what other word you can throw in there that ends with ship. And I think also like what Dylan mentioned, like it really is hitting home. Like Wolverine is kind of like the guy on the side that's coming into an already established relationship. It seems. I don't know. At least at this point, they don't do enough to like really give backstory into like any sort of dynamic that Wolverine and Jean have had. So I think that helps in my thinking of Team Cyclops, Team Jean, but.
And I think what a good thing is, because even in that scene where she like helps Logan in his room with those shirts off, like, and this is a credit to the voice acting, she does make it seem like there is some some connection to Logan, like her just thinking about it, right? And that's tough because like you got to do that with your voice. With your face, you can easily do that longing look and like have that feeling, but your voice, she has to like get that inflection and be like, okay, there is some sort of feelings there. Even if she wants to stick with Scott, there's something there. And yeah, again, I've taught those many times. My child's name is Logan Jean, so you know which side of the coin I'm on. It's always, I've taught about life imitating art, that in my early days, like I was in a very similar position in high school as far as Logan, and it's just like I've always glommed on that because I understand that perspective. But yeah, Scott, and I think you'll get to see him more episodes as far as him being a main character and more of a leader. I think in here he's just like a de facto, at least he's a leader doing things, and where the X-Men movies he just gets sidelined, he doesn't get to do anything. So I'm always like, I'm team Logan, but I always understand like Jean's choice. You know, I'm never like, oh, you know, why won't, like, especially in these, like I feel like in the movies they make Jackman much more even a little softer at times, and that's why I love Logan. He's this rash, sometimes piece of shit guy who does the right thing and he has a heart of gold, like, but it's all under something. It's all hidden and everything, right? And like same thing in these episodes so far. He's been very a big brute, but then all of a sudden he just like loves Jean, you know? So if you're watching for the first time, it's like, wow, this guy who's so hard on everyone else when it comes to Jean, you see like just the way the voice actor, like his voice, like he softens it up when he's talking about Jean. Like I really love all the choices there. So I love the dynamic, and I'm very excited for us to talk about these things. And also we got this. We had the meme we didn't talk about a few episodes ago where he punched Scott right in the stomach because they were fighting about a choice and stuff like that. And again, like that's where I'm like, I'm on Team Wolverine, but I don't say Jean's wrong, because like Scott's not going around just fucking decking people in the gut for making a decision, but Wolverine in front of everybody just like embarrasses him and resorts to violence. I was like, dude, you can't do that on the team. Like, but Wolverine.
But he's passionate. He's passionate though about like this.
I know.
I won't lie for a second. I thought his blades were extended when he did it.
Kill Scott. First handful of episodes.
Jean, you're single now, eh?
That would be wild.
That does happen. It's a very controversial choice, but it does happen in one of my favorite runs called Ultimate X-Men, where there's two things that happen. That Wolverine is sent by Magneto to kill Xavier, and in this story, Wolverine and Jean actually are a couple first before Scott, but they break up because Jean finds out through mind reading that he's there to kill Xavier, so that breaks up. So the whole time, that's why Wolverine's always after Jean, because he had her first, and he wants it back again. And later on down the line, him and Scott go on a mission, and they're like these creature mutants in a cave, and he literally leaves Scott to die. Like he closes in everything, and Scott's just left to die. And for like months, you think Scott's dead, and he comes back, and Scott still forgives Wolverine, but Wolverine literally put him in a cave to die. It doesn't get that, like that doesn't happen much, because I think people didn't like the choice of Wolverine actually actively trying to kill Scott, but it has happened before where he tried to go and oust him and everything like that.
It's funny you mention that, because that exact same situation happens here, where Wolverine finds Cyclops near the end of the episode passed out, and he's like, I could leave him here to die right now. Like either, or he's like even considering like, I could just kill him right now and no one would know. He's like, I can make a couple of women real sad right now, but I hate seeing Jean cry. I love that. It's so good.
It's so good. And that's what I like though, because you do have that always, like there's a part of, that's why I guess I liked the run, because there's like, you could believe he might do it on his worst day, he might pull that trigger, but that's why I do prefer Wolverine who doesn't pull the trigger. He sees the better side, instead he decides to leave the mansion instead of kill Scott in front of Jean.
Yeah.
You know? So
Like the line that Jean gave him. It's like, not even you heal that fast. Don't bet on it, Red. He's like just doing fucking karate in his bedroom.
yeah. Oh, I know. It's just, he's working up. And then Kirkland, do you have... Well, actually, I'll start with Taylor, because Leech was the guy that you're referring to, Taylor, as far as another mutant that morphs and everything like that. But Kirkland, did you recognize Leech at all? Because when we did the X-Men Retro, he is in a film. I'll pull him up. He
Whoa,
looks
really?
Is he the one
drastically...
they like? He's with like X3. Is that what one it is?
Yeah, you got
With
it. Yeah, I'll
the,
pull him up. Yeah.
He's one of like Magneto's like.
No,
people that he
Magneto's trying to
recruits, isn't it?
capture him because he's just this kid.
Oh, that's Leech. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I was thinking of someone
oh,
else.
hang on, I'll pull it up. I'm doing that thing again. Sorry, I got too many screens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the-
he's
Oh
just
my goodness.
He's
the
the
Juggernaut's
plot.
coming for him.
Yeah, he's the plot in X3 where they want him because they take his mutant ability to take the cure, so mutants will no longer have their powers and stuff like that. So obviously, again in the movies, much different to what we got here and in the comic books.
That's
But,
crazy.
yeah, we did meet him and some morphing characters. But yeah, we forgot to mention because we moved on from them. But this is the first time Jean gets to see Scott's eyes. She's like, "Oh, I didn't know my boyfriend or whatever had such beautiful eyes or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, Jean." It's just so like wholesome. But yeah, what do we think about the sewer? What do we think about the Morlocks, Calypso? Because I'm not a big fan of them. I think they're fine for me in this episode. So.
I love it.
Oh, yeah?
I think for me too, like X3, I was not part of those retros, but I love X-Men 3 Last Stand like that. So I never realized that guy was Leech. Like I hadn't really thought about Leech until recently. Once again,
yeah.
Marvel Snap, he's a card in there as well. But yeah, I've always loved that dynamic of these kind of like rough and tumble like underground sort of mutants against the X-Men and the different powers that I think that's a big part of it too, is you just get a bunch of new characters and they have a bunch of interesting powers. Like I love the gray goo guy that's just throwing like mud at everyone in this. Like I thought that was such a fun character. But you know, Callisto, the leader, who I think is, you know, a big character in X3 as well, right?
She's an X3, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's just like so many fun other characters. Like there's like that pastel kind of color girl. She's like white, pink, and light blue, and she's like thin as paper, and I never understood what she was doing, but I was like, that's a very interesting character. So I think for me it was just really fun to have these different weirdos. The guy who like someone jumps at him and he just turns into a ring, and they just like go through him like a ring. So I had a lot of fun with this episode, and Callisto kind of set up as the leader. I like the dynamic between Callisto and Storm. I thought they had a fun dynamic, and that Storm kind of reestablishes her as the leader at the end of the episode. It has like a nice happy ending. They also just have a lightsaber fight for some reason, which was very I was not expecting that.
Yeah, no, I forgot about the lightsaber fight. I'm like, this is a choice, but you know what? I guess it works enough. So
yeah, Duel of Fate starts playing. I actually quite like the Morlocks. I just think this idea of like, okay, you have mutants who are already outcast by society and the government or whatnot, but then you also have like the mutants that are basically from like Futurama, like they're just so like hideous that they just have to like live underground because they just like freak people out. Yeah, like they're like, you have someone who's like Wolverine, you know, he looks kind of feral, but like he's still, you know, he just looks like a jacked dude. Like he looks very human. Whereas you have some people down here, though. Yeah, like if I just saw them on the street, like I'd probably be freaked out by the look of some of these individuals. So I think that concept works really well in this like theme of the X-Men, that like, you know, just they're shunned because they're different, but these people are shunned even more because they just look different on the surface more so than just what their powers are. So I think that idea is fun, or not fun. It's an interesting idea to tell in a kid's show, you know, because it's more than just, oh, they just shoot things out of their hands and that's what makes the show interesting. Like there is more of a deeper concept there, so give them credit for that. I liked some of the abilities, like what Dylan was mentioning, the dude that turned to the ring, that one lady that was just like basically transparent, like she would just be as thin as paper. I thought that was a fun one. Callisto, I just like, what are her powers? Like that was one character is like, we are so hideous, we can't be on the surface. I'm like, she looks more normal than some of the X-Men here. Like this doesn't really make sense.
I actually forget what her power is too, and
She's
I can't
just a
remember what
good
is in
leader.
X3
That's what her
either.
power is.
yeah, in
That is a big
X3,
part of it, actually.
in X3, it's bad because her and there's another character, they just combine a bunch of powers from other people. Abilities: superhuman senses, tactical intuition, enhanced strength, agility, reflexes, regenerative healing, adept at
Little bit of
leadership
everything.
and hunting.
That is a fucking random generator of a superhero palette right there. That's hilarious.
Mutant
Great
tendril
tactical
limbs.
skill. That's my favorite.
At that time. So I think she's just like, she's just Captain America power, like just strong human, you know. So
Yeah, lightsaber battle definitely threw me. for
yeah,
a loop.
lightsaber. Yeah.
Yeah.
Taylor, you like lightsabers and sewer people. That's two things you like.
I guess so. Yeah.
Or
Lightsabers
not.
definitely did catch me off guard.
Cocked me off guard.
Cocked me off guard. So from my understanding, this whole narrative here, actually, before I get into the narrative, the one thing that I did really enjoy was when, I'm assuming again this was Leech, but Wolverine calls him out like, here, you can take Cyclops, and he's lying there incapacitated, and then Wolverine just extends his thing and just goes into like smack him, and then it morphs into another person. He's like, like freaking out. So I already got a kick out of that. And then the narrative here, so this evil lady just wanted to basically get Cyclops' seed to reproduce, right? To have a kid.
She wanted him to be like just the top. Like I don't know if it was the seed or if she literally wanted him to stay down with them as well and like lead them. Like it's a gray area, but either way, she wanted Scott for reproducing / kingship. I think we've all been there.
crazy shit.
We've all been. Yeah, we've all been.
Abducted
In the
someone and brought
sewer.
them into the sewers to
No, I've been
reproduce.
abducted, taken the
Opposite.
sewer. Like, you are our leader now, child.
We'll use you for reproduction.
Yeah, like that year I was that weekend I was homeless. That happened in that weekend. You know, I was like, okay. I almost took him up too.
That's crazy.
Only thing we did mention too is at one point I can't remember who they were talking about, but they just cut to Rogue and Gambit, and they're like, "We haven't seen so." Oh, I think they're talking about Gene and Scott. Like, we haven't seen so and so in forever. But where they're going is they're going to the Xavier's pool, and you got Rogue in a one piece, and then you got Gambit Rock in a mad speedo. It is a small speedo, and one, it's fun. I like that. Two, I just more question like. So Rogue's very protective, right? We established lots of times the power she touches somebody. She even said early episodes, like, touch one of my boyfriends, he went into a coma, and they've done that in the movie stuff like that's established. Of like, hey, you touch someone with no powers, really dangerous. Touch someone with powers, you might just take them, but still could hurt them. So even when she's on mission, she always has gloves, stuff like that. And I guess I could stay far away. I just think a swimming together in that situation is very risky. You just got to make sure, I guess, you're so far away, but one wrong slip, something like that. Like she has her leg exposed, arm exposed, and Gambit, other than his junk and butt, everything is exposed. His skin is all over the place. It's not like he has a trench coat. So I just looked and like, this is very risky for these two to be doing, swimming together. You know, if she wants to swim and he wants to hang out in like the hot tub opposite of her talk, maybe that's what they're gonna do. But if they're in the same pool, I don't know, very risky. You know,
For some reason, something about that seems like exactly what Gambit would do
yes.
to me, based on the character. I think maybe it was like a small hot tub. I could see the fear, but I don't know. Otherwise, I think it's, at some point she has to get out in the sun and get a little sunlight on her body, right?
I'm saying he doesn't have to follow her though. He could stay with the trench coat.
Oh,
and just,
he's
like,
following her.
Well, of course he's following.
He
her.
does love that trench coat. We'll talk about that in the next episode. He should
yeah.
ditch it, but he doesn't. So.
No. Let's see. Is there anything?
The other,
No?
a couple other notes for me. One is they mentioned this once again. I love all the intricacies of these powers. They imply that Cyclops' power only is like powered by the sun. So if he doesn't have either direct access or like he hasn't had sunlight in an amount of time, that his powers are weakened or don't work. Which he's in the sewer, so that makes sense. He was knocked out for a bit. But yeah, that's something I did not know about, and I'm curious to see if that's one consistent in the show, or if that really comes up much, because it's like they could always just be like, oh yeah, he's been outside in the last 24 hours, so he's had some sunlight. But I don't know, it's just not something I've ever thought about before.
Yeah, Scott's powers are weird because, like, I don't think that if it's comic accurate, they took it from one comic book. There's been times where Scott's powers are technically a portal to another dimension. That's what. Yeah. Oh no, that's happened where that's why it's shooting out of his eyes. Is another dimension is shooting out of his eyes, and he has the portal to it. So his powers have kind of changed all over. So yeah, I don't know if they keep it consistent, but I don't know if it's like a reoccurring thing that if he doesn't get sun, he can't shoot laser beams and stuff. But we'll see if it pops up again.
Maybe just a good plot point for the sewers
Yeah,
episode.
yeah,
But then I think that old lady who puts them to sleep, because she kind of takes Jean with her as well, and she's like kind of mind controlling her or something, right?
Yeah.
To some extent. And like when like Wolverine comes to save the day, he's like, "Oh, you picked the wrong lady to adopt." I love that line as well. He's so many great one-liners. I think most of the ones I have written down are from him. So
And he's afraid of scorpions. Scorpions! Freaking the fuck out.
Who
yeah,
isn't?
it's
Scary
such
creatures.
a random. Yeah, like it's
love that
the
part.
most badass guy. Just Scorpions. like why? Why? Like anything else? But why is it?
Maybe he had a
Scorpions?
run-in with Scorpion when he was hanging out with Spider-Man or something
He
like
must
that.
have, because the fact that he's so deathly afraid of them is something.
Fuck, I'm glad you shouted that out because I was watching that in the kitchen. I had it on the iPad. I was cooking away, and just like he just screeches. He's like, "Oh no, scorpions!" And it just fucking had me laughing so hard in the kitchen. Shay was like, "What the hell are you watching?" Oh, it totally surprised me that fear that he had.
Well, two things. One, when you bring up Dylan, about the sun and not being depowered. I feel like Gene and Scott now just got to go live somewhere where there's no sun and everything be okay. You know, she could see his eyes almost all the time. So they think about that.
That's
and then two, one of my favorite things when they get back to the base, Gene says to Storm, she's like, "You command the team well," and Storm goes, "We all nearly perished." And it was just such a good response to her being like, "Oh, you're so good." Like, "No, we almost died." And then she's like, "Oh, but that's why, because you had to." But it was just the way like Storm was just not digging the idea of like that she did a good job and stuff. So I liked that interaction. Anything else for episode 5?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll give this one a thumbs up. I'm not the biggest fan of the Morlocks, so that would have been in the middle. But the triple threat love thing going on, the dynamic, the 3-way, that gets me the full thumbs up. And yeah, there's some fun memes in there, like the scorpions. I almost forgot about that. They brought that up to us. I'm happy. So, yeah.
the scorpions! No,
For me, it's a 2 thumbs. There's a lot of great moments in
Whoa.
this.
There
I
you
like
go.
that the Morlock storyline. I like the memes. We get that relationship dynamic. So easy double thumb for me.
Imagine they get back to the mansions. All the kids are like, "Yeah, and he's fucking scared of scorpions." No, I'm not. And just like
there's a
they
photo of Scott and Gene in his room too.
Yeah, they replace it with a. Here he gets back to just photos of scorpions everywhere. No.
He's just getting bullied by all the students.
Yeah. What about you guys? Thumb system.
Yeah, this will be a solid single thumb up for me.
Taylorfield.
This is definitely a single thumb for me as well.
Episode 6, Cold Vengeance. Wolverine abruptly leaves the X-Men in the middle of the night. Weary of Jean and Cyclops' relationship, he travels to the Arctic, where he encounters the vengeful Sabretooth, of course, right? Wolverine is stranded in the freezing waters following the fight and is rescued by the Inuit villagers. He befriends the Inuit and finds some momentary peace in the village before Sabretooth shatters the illusion of the peace again. Meanwhile, Gambit proposes a journey to investigate a rumor that Genosha is a mutant-friendly island. Much to the intense disapproval of Cyclops, Professor X, however, sees potential to the suggestion and approves the mission. Storm, Gambit, Jubilee head to the mutant-loving island, paradise known as Genosha. So, where do we want to start? Do we want to start with the Genosha part or the X-Men or the Wolverine Sabretooth part? Because I feel like it's an episode of two tales. It's kind of divided there. Taylor, you want to go somewhere?
I would love to just say like to start on the Wolverine dynamic here.
yeah.
Like this is probably one of my most favorite things that we kind of got to explore so far. I would love to have a movie dedicated to just a standalone movie of Wolverine out here. Just gets comes encounter with like another mutant or like a beast, but we don't know it's Sabretooth, and then it's kept kind of in shadow, and then he gets rescued by the village folk.
So you want like
and-
Prey with Wolverine, you know?
Exactly,
Just in
let's do
Arctic.
it.
You know what?
Let's do it.
I'd be completely down for that. Someone's hunting him and he doesn't know, and they just make Sabretooth like a horror monster. I hope they don't cast the annoying guy like, "I used to be the favorite, now Logan's
God.
here."
Oh, you gotta have him.
Fuck
That guy is
made
such
it.
a coward too.
Oh,
Oh,
I know,
my
he's the
god.
worst. He sucks.
It's been like 5 minutes and he's already selling out his people and like Jesus.
Well,
This guy's crazy.
He gets what he deserves. Like again, he survives, which is fine, but he gets what he deserves in the terms of ridicule because he's like, "Oh, I'm as strong as he is." Tries to pick up the fish and falls. Everyone's laughing at him. Like this guy, his village
Why,
can eat
dude?
for like 3 months now, a whole year, and he's just jealous. Yeah,
Why
very
is he doing this?
very weird character. And then just the boldness. Like I loved how he sees Sabretooth and he's freaking out like, "Oh, it's the abominable snowman or whatever." And Sabretooth's like, "I'm not a snow monster," or whatever, like he says, which is great. But then him actually, you're right, selling out his people and actually trying to take Wolverine out. Like, "Oh, the real men hunt out here in the deep sea area," and lures him out. I don't know what his plan was, but just the two of them riding tandem in this little kayak and then just getting into this tiff and fighting, like it really fucking cracks me up.
And to me, it was exclamated by when the big battle happens, right? And Wolverine finds him and Sabretooth. The village is gone. Where is that village? All tied to a fucking ice bridge with dynamite on it.
There are so many snow bridges in this episode. I'm like, I don't think these writers know how snow works. It's like so strange to me.
And like, I get it, and I get that he was a part of like an assassin team at one point, but is Victor Creed just carrying loads of dynamite around everywhere he goes. Like that was just such a suspicious choice to me. Like they zoom in and these bombs are here. It's like, well, again, I don't know how this works. Are those pockets? What is it? So like, where is he storing this dynamite? You know,
The dynamite's one thing, but I think my biggest question was like, how the fuck did he actually tie all of them down at the same time? It's like, hey, nobody move, and I need someone to help me because I can't do this all by myself. Like, this is a tough task here. But yeah, he's just demolition man. He's always got all the dynamites, all the detonators.
Like imagine that you're part of this village, right? And the guy, do you remember what his name was? The coward guy.
It was Kalwick.
Okay, so Kawik.
Kawik.
So imagine you go to sleep, right? You wake up, and then you wake up to Kawik, and he's just holding a rope while you have this beast thing crawling up and down and around this ice bridge to tie you up, because that's the only way you'd have to do it.
I was thinking about the logistics of it too. I'm like, that was quite the process.
Sabretooth is doing this, like he has to climb, and they still accept him back somehow, which is like, I would have excommunicated him out and say, hey, sorry, you're no longer a part of this tribe. But it was a very elaborate plan to get Wolverine out just to fight when really he could have just fought him. He didn't need the tie up or the dynamite. But like I appreciate like that for a meme wise of this plan and how it concocted, you know.
It was very like Wildy Coyote, like Acme Looney Tune villainy, but like I think it like kind of just works with like the overall just feeling of the show. You know, it's a little bit more kiddie, but like just when you sit down and just sit on that.
Think of
it's
it,
like, yeah. Like, how the hell did he actually do that there? But,
and why? Why did you like? Why do you not just show up to the village and say, "I'm going to murder all these people if you don't fight me"?
Yeah.
Like, it's
why
that
don't you just
simple.
like capture him? It's like, no, we're gonna tie him to the bridge. I
Yeah,
brought
and
all the
bombs.
ropes. We're gonna
I
use
got
it.
bombs.
Yeah, he's just
Yeah.
really into these like traps and overall just cartoony villain.
And it
moves.
doesn't work because Logan just kicks his ass and throws him off the thing, and he goes freezing. Like, I hope I don't see you again. Like, it'd be different if like he got something. He doesn't kill any villagers. He doesn't kill Logan. Like, Sabretooth's just such an idiot. Like, none of these things. He's just a brute, and that's why it works out. But yeah, plan did not work out, and maybe he saw him for the last time. But and I love at this point that Logan was just like he was over fighting. He's like, he said some line of like, this is the last time, or we got to move past this or something. Like he already in 5 episodes he was over fighting Sabretooth, but
He's finding peace. Yeah.
Exactly,
And like that whole like idea, that worked for me. Him just like going way up to the north. I
Boba
laughed
Fett.
with like right at the beginning because like I always knew that he was Canadian or whatnot, but he just like is in this like fucking Antarctic tundra thing. He's like home finally. It's like, is that what Canada looks
Skiing
like?
around. I like seeing him
That's-
skiing around.
that's what people think Canada is. Like tons of
Yeah.
people think we live in igloos. You know?
And, like,
Is it,
for me,
is it in the show? Do you know if it's canon that he's Canadian?
I
Is it
think
mentioned at all?
I think they might mention when they talk about Weapon X and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it
Okay.
is Canadian. So
He must be like Northwest Territories or something. Because for me, it's just like I've never seen terrain like that in Canada. But
You've
know,
never
it is what
done
it
that
is.
and be like home.
We don't got those snow bridges here in Canada. that's
Yeah,
for
none
sure.
of those
That
fucking
line
crazy
just got me
fantasy
right away.
snowbirds.
He's just like, it's good to be home, and it's just like fucking nothing. It's like, it just looks just like
snow
my
and
backyard.
ice.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you want to be here, why haven't you been here the whole time? Like, why are you at the X Mansion? Like, you're like, home. So.
Yeah, but like again, like throughout the whole show, like it just seems like he's really found peace up here living with the Inuit people, and I like that idea. I think it's fun. I really liked his attire too, just him in like the big winter coat. I just like to see Wolverine wearing that outfit. So a lot of that stuff worked for me. And again, just to have these like 2 bitter rivals like dishing it out for the final time possibly in the north, like I just think like on paper that really works for me, and it's a fun little Wolverine adventure. So overall I really did like this episode, even minus like the super whiny just all the ladies used to like my jokes before Wolverine, like whatever it was, paraphrase. But yeah,
It's
so cringy.
everything.
I think being Sabretooth being this like rageful, spiteful villain full of vengeance and everything, Sabretooth, gets finally his vengeance on Wolverine, and he's latched
he?
onto this.
Like,
Well,
what did he do?
No, beforehand, like when Wolverine's like holding on to like the little like floating piece of ice, and Sabretooth's throwing like debris at him, and then he just
Really
thinks,
accurate, like pretty good
Very
throw
accurate.
from like hundreds of meters away.
He basically just calls him out like, okay, you're not going to make it long out here with the freezing cold water, all that jazz. You won't make it. So now we cut to the next scene of Sabretooth like he hears this noise, and then in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, he has to see his arch nemesis being like veered off on a boat, being saved. Just like, what the fuck? And I swear he says something about luck or something to him about like Wolverine's luck. But yeah, just incredible.
The music that plays too when he gets saved by the villagers, it's just like a very orchestral, like fantasy music, and it was really caught me off guard because most of the show is what you were mentioning, Travis, of just like very classic rock themes or like different
Tons of
uses of the
guitars.
main theme or something like that. So no, that really stood out to me as well. But I like that. I like that scene. A couple other things from their battle, like at one point. Sabretooth just uses the classic like kind of pocket sand moment where he just like throws some snow in his face, and that's like apparently Wolverine's kryptonite. Like that destroyed him. It takes him so long to rub that out of his eyes.
It was worse than the
before he can
Scorpions.
see again.
He was down big. He's, oh my god! Like, and for a guy that says it's home, he's not used to some snow getting. In his
I know,
eye.
right? That's the thing. It's like you're wearing a mask too. Like that, to some extent, this probably isn't too bad.
Yeah.
Canadian
I thought
snow.
that was
That's his
pretty
only
funny.
weakness.
Yeah.
And then kind of a weird little. I feel like it was just very tacked on at the very end of the episode. You know, like their village gets destroyed or part of it gets destroyed, and the elder's like, "Yeah, we're actually just gonna move to the city now. Yeah, we're heading out."
Yeah.
And he was super sad about it, but he's like, "Yeah, everyone else like kind of want to do this for a bit, so I guess we're just gonna try this out now." That was a very weird little like 30-second long plot point that was dropped in at the end of this episode.
I forgot about that. Yeah, they were like before Logan came like in some existential crisis of like, do we move? Do we stay? And this certified it. Like we bumped into Sabretooth, we're going into the city. Which Taylor forgot to say they call them a snow demon is what they refer
Snow
to.
demon,
Sabretooth.
right? That's
That was my
Snow-
other potential nickname. Yeah, was
Yeah.
the Snow Demon.
I am no snow demon.
yeah, that was a great line.
Because the guy finds him, he literally walks up and he sees Sabretooth. He goes, "Oh, a snow demon!" Like that's what he says. Oh
Yeah.
man, yeah,
Dude,
that movie was great. Yeah.
I had to go back and look at it because he's like packing up his sled or whatever, Sabretooth, after he kills his rival, and then all of a sudden he hears something. He's like, "A motor out here!" Like he just knows exactly what that sound is. And then he sees Wolverine, and he's like, "You have a coward's luck, Wolverine."
That's
Oh,
There's like this
coward's
coward
luck.
like theme that, or not theme. It's just this like reoccurring thing that he keeps calling Wolverine a coward. And like later on, when Wolverine comes and saves the village, he like calls him a coward for coming to save everyone. And I'm like, I feel like that's the opposite of what a coward is. It's just
That's
like
just his go-to.
We've established that
just an insult
Sabretooth's
that he
head
has
is not
for him.
screwed on quite right. So
Everybody's
Such
a coward.
coming to save these people. Yeah.
I just picture he's on the Brotherhood of Mutants like with everybody, and he's calling people that. They're like, Magneto, why did you get this guy? Ha! We'll show those cowards. Like everybody, just like, dude, you're not getting it. Oh man. Oh, that was good. And then anything else to add on the Wolverine Sabretooth portion? No, and then we get to what we talked about earlier. So what I like here is we'll get to see this later on, that Gambit is a very, I'll say, and maybe you guys picked up on this, but like at times shady character. He's not as much as Wolverine, where I feel like because Wolverine's so loud and he's just so abrupt that okay, right away he's the asshole team, he's the outlier. But Gambit many times I feel like makes decisions and does things that the team doesn't like. They don't trust him because I feel like in this show it's insinuated that he's like one of the later members, like he can, and there might even be an episode that explains that he came after the team was kind of assembled and stuff like that. So he's probably more of the Boromir of the group as far as, he might have some good ideas, but he goes about them the wrong way and he's very brass. And that's the thing where he'll be like, "Oh, no problem, mon ami." And then like later on, he's like flying away at the jet. You're like, what the fuck's going on? That didn't happen here. But I feel like he kind of did that to Scott, where it's kind of very underhandedly and snidely. And he doesn't even want to be like the captain. He doesn't want Jean. He just is doing what he feels is best and stuff like that. So, and Gambit, he's one of my, I think behind Wolverine, he's probably my second favorite character. I love the look. Is just like, you look at a badass character and that's him. I love the headpiece, the eyes, and just having fucking playing cards as your weapon. He has the staff, the coat. I love how he has like a 12 pack, but it's just like this like whatever pink thing he's wearing. And I'm very excited for you guys to watch more of him. But yeah, I'm a huge Gambit fan. I think me and Emily are gonna do Gambit and Rogue next year for Halloween. That's why I'm growing the hair out this direction and
Nice.
stuff like that. So, but I love just this. It always reaffirms it, and I can't wait. Like that's one thing that I want Feige just to nail when we get to MCU. It's like, I need a great Gambit because he's such an interesting character. And I feel like the first few episodes, he's just like the flirt and he's doing some cool stuff, but this is the first time we get to see him like he actually like gives a damn about some stuff. So I enjoyed that, and that happens more later on as well.
I'm excited to get to your level with Gambit because I'm not there yet. He has some fun moments to him, and there's something with particularly the next episode that I thought was very intriguing with the character. But it was funny, very funny to me when they show up to the resort, and Storm and Jubilee are wearing like regular civilian attire to not like stand out too much. But Gambit's just rocking his same old costume. He does not care if it's like, I'm a mutant, and like obviously screaming that to the world because you think that, you know, the X-Men are probably show up on the news and stuff, so they'll be able to recognize Gambit. But yeah, he does not care. He does not care about that.
Yeah, I also found it funny. He's just wearing that big headpiece. But yeah, it's a character that I've always found like his power to be very interesting, and he has this like mysterious, badass, I don't know,
He's a bad boy.
to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always dropping the one-liners. So like I definitely understand the badassery, but for the story purposes, I'm definitely not quite there yet because it just seems like he just drops a line here and there, and you know, mon chéri, he's got this little French
Mon chéri.
something to him, but
Yeah.
like his powers, I think right now is the most intriguing thing to me because just like the playing cards that like is just magic or whatever. Like that's such a sweet concept. But yeah, I just up until this point, I feel like that's as far as I'm at right now.
And he doesn't have the Wolverine one-liners, but I just love his like in battle one-liners, just like the deck was stacked against you. Like all the stuff they have him say is just like so like 60 eras Bond level cheese, but I absolutely love it. Go ahead.
And like his look too, it seems like I could believe this guy being a villain. Like just like
Yeah.
he seems intimidating with like his look, and I don't know if it's a trench coat thing, but like definitely the eyes and everything. Like he has this
the eyes.
piercing look to him that like, you know, having him on the good guy side, that does just make him even more intriguing on the surface. So I am excited to find out more about his backstory and what makes him this way, you know.
And I think they do a little bit of it like in the show, but in the comics he's been like Rogue, where he has been on the bad side before and stuff like that, and you can believe it just because because you'll see in this show you do get to learn his origins, and he comes from a very bad background and stuff like that. So it's lucky he's here. But Taylor, is this another character you loathe? Because other than Jubilee, I haven't heard the other character you loathe yet.
The others were more like the sewer rats. Those
Okay.
characters there.
You loathe them. Okay, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Those freaks.
Fucking mutants.
Yeah, sewage mutants.
Taylor loves
Cowards.
traps. That's his favorite character.
We know that he wasn't going to hate the French guy. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
No, I really, really do like Gambit a lot. Everything he's saying is one-liners, is quick quips and all that kind of stuff. Totally driving with it. And yeah, you guys have said a lot that I just reiterate already. He looks like a villain, and in the next episode, that's where I felt like I really like seeing this kind of development for his character take place. But yeah, I just think that getting to see him kind of lead the charge of this mission a little bit more with Storm and Jubilee, I thought it was super, super cool. And I thought it was like I was laughing when he was just like, "Oh, look, we should ask about the mutant discount." It's like, no, we got to be like kind of like inconspicuous. And the way that this whole kind of dynamic changed for him and like his team when the concierge was just like, "Oh, got a couple of like mutants here," because they scanned like Storm's eye when she just walked in here. So like they got some high tech in this place. But
Oh
I
yeah.
laughed so hard at that. It just seemed like such a 90s like cartoon like tech real quick. It's like, hold on, let me see this. And then it shows like an image and just like reveals her entire look as Storm the superhero. So God, I just it like they don't have to explain the technology or anything. So let's just have this thing that just instantly reveals who the mutant are. It always gets me a chuckle.
I don't have any more to say until we get to the next episode on him, though.
Yeah, I don't have anything more on this episode, I don't think.
I'd give it a mid thumb for me.
I'm a thumbs up for the Saber. I like the Gamma Dynamite, but the Sabertooth Wolverine stuff at least gets a thumb up for me, you know.
Thumb and a half.
Wow, look at that.
Thumb and a half.
Thumb and a
You
half.
can't do that. You're breaking the scale.
I didn't know you could do that. Yeah, I think just a solid, maybe a thumb and a half is pretty accurate. Maybe I'll do a thumb and a half too.
Thumb
if
and a
that's
half.
allowed.
The
Wow.
point
One thing
fives
I
are
forgot to
here.
mention on the Inuit stuff, I like the concept how like just there's a section of the world that just has no idea what mutants are. I think that's intriguing because you could explain it to them, but until they really see it, like they wouldn't know what that means. And
What a
I feel like
day.
that's just kind of that's like that's kind of lacking in the X-Men world. Like there isn't a lot of people, at least in the live action from what I've seen, that just have never even heard of the mutants. So I thought that was fun.
Yeah, imagine that. No idea what mutants, and you see this thing like Sabretooth, and then a guy with claws out of his hand.
You would understand the snow demon. Like I would
Yeah.
totally call him that. you know?
Yeah. Well, here's our final episode of the day, a title that maybe they would retitle nowadays.
Yeah.
Slave Island. So the X-Men discover the truth behind Genosha as Gambit, Storm, Jubilee, and a host of other mutants are made to work as slaves in order to complete the dam, which will power a new Sentinel factory. Storm tries to escape but is quickly recaptured and sent to solitary confinement in a small holding room, badly affecting her claustrophobia, and that is putting it mildly. Meanwhile, Gambit pretends to betray the mutants and gain the guards' trust by revealing Jubilee's escape attempt. He is allowed to be taken out of the compound, where he soon escapes with the help of mysterious Cable. Gambit returns to break Jubilee, Storm, and the other mutants out of the compound together with the help of the other X-Men to free all the mutants of Genosha. So this is a lot to take in here. A lot of stuff happened. And also, I guess we could have talked about last episode too, but Genosha does eventually become, I'm not sure if when it comes back in the show, but that is I don't know if you guys remember in Dark Phoenix, Fassbender had like that land that was like mutants, like sovereign, where you couldn't go there and do anything. Eventually it is a big thing in X-Men lore. It is like a safe haven for X-Men. Now eventually it's still like the government could just invade at any time. So there's a new place called Krakoa, which is much more, because it's like a place where you literally can't get in unless you're a mutant. Like you're closed off. The passage doesn't even open to you. That just happened this like past 5 years in comic books, but this used to be like the safe haven for mutants, and this obviously is that's why they were using that, like, oh, it's a trick, and I think it becomes that eventually. But yeah, what do you guys think about this episode? Where do you want to start?
Well, I actually want to go back to that Gambit stuff that we were talking about, because like based on the synopsis you just read there, to me I took it as more ambiguous. I felt like the show wasn't taking a stance as to whether or not Gambit was truly working that whole time to free everyone, or if he was just working in his own selfish interest to get out of there and fuck them over. And I really like that. I like that to me it wasn't obvious, and that, you know, I got to watch further to figure out retroactive what do I think about that. But are you guys more solid that like he was working in good conscience the whole time through?
I'm with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I was same as you. I was,
Cool.
and that made it really interesting, because it's like, holy shit, he actually is a villain. He doesn't just look like a villain here. But yeah.
I wasn't, just because like with some stuff you'll learn about him. He's kind of a con artist, so it's like a con. Not that he's run exactly,
Fits
but he's
the
done
MO.
similar things to that. It's very, and I guarantee you, this is why you might like him. He's very Jack Sparrowish at times, where you don't know if you can trust him. But yeah, I think it was just a con from the beginning, because all the other mutants have this like the wrong idea of like they just want to use their powers or something to get out. Like, let's just make a break. But he's doing it in a much more slide way of, okay, well, if we can't do it that way, we're outnumbered. How are we going to do this? Well, I got to kind of get and gain their trust and stuff like that. So, but I agree with you that I like that the show doesn't exactly spell that out for you. You can have your own, like, it's kind of up to you as a viewer in this episode. So, because they definitely thought he was turning, and it is a little questionable that they just let him walk right out. Like, I wouldn't believe, even though he's a mutant, like, I feel like they'd be like, oh, well, like, you could be free, but you would have to like work with us still. I feel like it's hard for me to believe they would just let him go and stuff like that in this way, where they just hate mutants. But alas, you know, it's just it's a minor thing. So Taylor, you said you had more to talk about Gambit in the next episode. We're here.
Yes, it was just mostly what Dylan already highlighted. Just I love that we couldn't really figure out, is he working in his self-interest? Is he working kind of against them? And I love that he just threw Jubilee under the bus. Like, I won't lie.
You
I
do
just
love
As the
fucking love
Jubilee
that.
hater, you were like, fuck
Get
yeah.
her!
Yeah,
That's why he loves
Jubilee-
Gambit. I have favorite character, Gambit.
Jubilee took charge and tried to rally the troops and everything like that, and they all listened to her, and they all paid the price. They got fucked over. And yeah, I think
That's
it was
twice now
great.
with Victor and this. Like,
Yeah.
she's definitely not leading material yet, you know.
She's not, no. But yeah, Gambit he came out on top, and really he played to his strengths, which I really, really liked. And just like lying to the people, like, yeah, oh, you know, they were just using me for my abilities, kind of, and that sort of stuff. And takes full advantage of getting out of the situation, which I really liked. I will say, when he does meet Cable, which I'm sure we'll talk about Cable next, this slight line of dialogue, it's so subtle when Cable's like, oh, I picked this off one of those guards, like I think he said like a few months ago, a few weeks ago, I don't know, you know, maybe it'll come in handy. Immediately comes in handy because he unlocks his collar. So I just found that funny.
Yeah,
Love it.
it's a little
It's
stretch.
like when you're in a
It's-
video game. It's like, oh, you need a key to the next room. It's like, here you go. It's like the
Yeah.
exact same thing that you need. Yeah.
Yeah, or like you meet a merchant and like they have the one thing you need to buy. It's like I have a few trinkets. And
This
it's
might
like,
help you on your
Yeah,
travel.
the staff of Elden Destruction, and it's like, oh, I need this to get through that door. I'm glad.
Some
oh,
odds and ends.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
For Cable, I didn't know he had a nickname, the Wild Man of Borneo. I'm sure that's something that recurs in the comics, maybe. But I was like, I kind of like that.
Badass.
It's kind of a fun.
Yeah.
name.
Yeah, I don't know how
So-
much it comes up any. Like, I don't think it's like it hasn't stuck. I'll say that. But yeah,
It's like Snow Demon.
Yeah, it's like- he has the very classic look. I like the voice. So I'm a fan of Cable, and I'm sure we'll see him pop up every once in a while. on
were
the
you guys
show.
surprised to see him this early and stuff like that? Because I actually
I think
forgot.
I was. Yeah.
I just forgot
I
that
was.
episode 7. It's like, oh, he's already here, season 1 and stuff. Because there is a couple big arcs with him, but I was surprised that he's just like kind of going around helping mutants out and just kind of doing stuff. Like he's
Yeah.
getting in the thick of things, but just kind of you can tell he's doing it. Like he's not just going to join the X-Men of like I'll be with you. You can tell he's a man on a mission, but he's like a gunslinger. I like he's like a Western gunslinger where he's doing something, but he will help a lad in need or something.
And he works on his own, but like he'll team up with someone if it suits
Yeah.
his like individual, like his current goal.
And it's not like
Yeah.
a big deal. He's not like I don't want to work with you. Like he's just like okay, sure, he does it, then moves on. So
On Disney Plus, going from episode to episode, he was like on like sort of the cover with like Storm
okay.
or whatnot. So I knew he was coming. Just yeah, it definitely shocked me to have him this early, and like it worked so well that like there's so much chaos going on in this episode, and he just kind of has like his own mission, and I think that's just so fun. Like you mentioned, he's like this Western gunslinger, but like futuristic, like
Yeah.
almost not quite cyberpunky, but like he has tech like that. So I think that's really intriguing, and it's a character that like it wasn't my biggest highlight from Deadpool 2, but like I feel like okay, it's a cool idea of a character. Josh Brolin does a good job on him, but like seeing him in the animation style, it's just I want to know so much more about him. Like he's just so much more intriguing to me. I don't know if it's just like the color tones or whatnot, or if just how he was used in this episode or whatever it was. But yeah, I want more of the Mr. Cable, the wild man of. What was it? Borneo?
Borneo, yeah.
Borneo. Yeah.
He felt definitely like just this like super rare like DLC character that just popped in. I really liked
He
it.
was a
It was-
DLC character in Ultimate Alliance 3.
There you go.
He's pay to win. He's got all the unlocks.
Oh, his
Oh,
weapons are
you need something to
so
unlock your
OP
neck piece.
though. Like when he's shooting like multiple of those Sentinels, holy shit, they just like annihilate.
Well, he's from the
Yeah.
future, right? He has all that.
Well, they
tech.
didn't are they specifying that later on? Because his origin story here was that the leader was just recruited him, and then he didn't like what the leader was doing. He wasn't one of the good guys. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't think they haven't specified a lot. They haven't specified that. They haven't specified who his dad is and stuff like that. So yeah, there'll be fun stuff with him. So yeah, he's just like if every franchise when there's certain characters that just every fan loves, like Cable's that one. He's like fuck, he's just so cool. Like he is that definition of like what a badass and stuff. And yeah, like I said, I was surprised to see him so early. But yeah, you're gonna get multiple arcs and stuff with him in the future. So it's look out for Mr. Summers. So
He very much reminded me of the Mandalorian that you find in Knights of the Old Republic. I forget that guy's name, but he just has like a very similar look of like white hair, badass gunslinger.
oh yeah,
like your ally
you-
that you get. I forget his
yeah,
name, but yeah.
I forget too. It's been a while. Yeah, and he's hard around the edges.
oh
and
yeah,
stuff
talks
like that.
very similar. Just
Yeah.
like a total badass.
And I just like the pairing of those two. And plus, Dylan, you said Alliance 3. He is also a DLC in Alliance 2 as well. So he's always the
There you
DLC guy. Maybe Midnight Suns he'll get it too in the second wave or something.
That'd
So
be funny. Yeah.
that's one where I'm again talking about Gambit. He was one of my favorite players to play in Ultimate Alliance 2. I wish in Midnight Suns I get some card action in there and stuff like that.
That'd be fun, yeah.
Cards with the cards, markets itself. So, and then yeah, we talked about a few episodes ago. We alluded, but man, credit to the voice actor when they put Storm in that box. Oh my goodness, that is just blood curdling, horrendous yells. Very scary. And I like, again, this episode, it's like her kind of overcoming a little bit. It's overcoming not in a way where I feel like, oh, she's completely rid of her fear and stuff like that. But it was like a mini arc here. I like that they did that. And this is why I thought Gambit was like on the good side. The only way they tipped it is because he did save Storm. He did say like, well, she can control the weather. And they're like, well, we do need water for a dam. And the guy's like, we do.
Yeah. Bad guys
And-
are very easily manipulated. Like,
Yeah.
She can fill that dam. Oh, you're right.
But they were gonna execute her, and Gambit saved her life with that one little line. So that's where I thought, okay, that was the way of him being like, yeah, I'm still with the team, and it was smart reasoning and stuff. But yeah,
When she got captured, I could not help but laugh so hard because they're like, hey, just so you guys know, we're going to take off your collars. If anything happens, like, we'll just turn them back on. And then they turn it off, instantly storm, Gambit,
Yeah.
Jubilee, now!
Everyone's just like
runs for the
awkward. We did
Yeah,
not follow
like,
you into that one.
Instantly does not work. Holy shit, I just laughed so hard. It's
Great
like,
leader,
It's going to
she
work
said.
so well. Yeah.
And even for the employees, it's like, well, another day at the office. Like they see this every time. There's always one squeamish person who, the moment they turn it off, they try and do something.
put her in the box.
Her attempt was
Gambit
pretty
now.
weak too. I forget what, like she just threw a little lightning bolt or something, but it was not, not well planned, which I think fits too. She was, not in her right state of mind.
Yeah.
She was freaking out, so
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Let me look at my notes, but I don't think I have. Yeah, no, I think I covered everything I need to at this episode. I think
Well,
this
for
episode
me-
had good moments, but
For me, this is another kind of Morlock situation where it was fun to see a bunch of other characters. Like Mystique
Yeah.
was in there, and I love the Mystique look where she has like the skull belt.
oh, it's so cool.
Yeah, I love that look for Mystique. I think maybe it was Blob. Was one of the? Was that what the name of the villain?
Was he the
character?
big guy with like brown hair and stuff?
Yeah, is
like
that Blob?
Yeah,
Is
that's
that his name?
Blob. Yeah, that's
Uh,
the Blob.
The
Is it
Blob. Yeah, sorry,
yeah.
forgot that.
Yeah.
Sunfire. He was like a big one in here.
Yeah.
I think Wolfsbane is that the character that was there, because that's a big card in Ultimate Alliance, very popular card. So I was happy to see it. What looked like Wolfsbane to me, but I don't know if it was the
It
same
could have-
character.
It could have been. I'd have to go back and look. Actually, I don't remember seeing it, but that wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility of like this era. Like that sounds like that would fit. So
And then there was like, it was like a couple, a man and a woman. They had like matching uniforms, and it seemed like everything they did was like
like a
symmetrical.
Wonder
For a
Twins
second, I thought it was
situation.
Black Cat. I was like, what is Black Cat doing here? But I don't know what they could like, fly around and stuff. I thought those characters were interesting. Don't know who they are though.
yeah, I'll pull them up and see if
Yeah, they reminded me of like the Wonder Twins or something. I
Sure,
didn't
something
know
like
what they
that,
were. Yeah.
Mutant Twins. There's like a couple. The problem is there's multiple Mutant Twins. When
Yeah.
you search them up, there's like, I think it's Furnace. I think because they had that type of powers and stuff like that. I'll do a screen share, and I think you guys will probably agree this is probably the best option there. Not an X-Men guy or characters I'm not too familiar with, but I feel like they are looking like the culprits there.
Oh, maybe they were wearing like black and white, but
Yeah, and that's a tough thing with that. But it's just like, yeah, there's other obviously X-Men
There's
twins,
Wanda,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, twins, M twins. Like there's so many.
I think they
like,
were a couple because I thought they like kissed at some point or
Okay.
implied that. But
Hey,
I
well,
could be
that's
wrong.
happened with these twins before too. They're twins and they've kissed before, so
All
it
right,
happens.
there you go.
Oh yeah, they've been incestuous in the past, so yeah. Not coming to the MCU anytime soon, but
I like when Dr. Trask comes out and then he's just wearing this like fucking super weird cult leader, almost like colonial like outfit.
Oh,
He's like,
yeah.
I am the leader now, and it's just, yeah, it's very strange just having like this episode, Slave Island. You have this guy who's just like, call me the leader now, and he's dressed up like a colonial. It's like this is just this
Weird
is-
vibes. for
Yeah,
sure.
weird vibes for
yeah.
sure.
But we know what they're invoking. Like that's
Yeah.
what they're. Maybe they didn't have to go too hard with it, but again, maybe I guess that their idea is for children, I guess, to pick up on that, to establish like this is bad, like very bad. Like
Yeah.
obviously it's bad.
I should
but-
hope the kids
I
like,
know,
yeah,
but
this
you-
is good.
But just like
I
it
wanna
can
be the leader.
affiliate, like if they when they learn about it in school and they see a character or something like that in history, and then they move back to they go, oh right, this is all bad. This is like remember what
Right.
they did to the X-Men. This is what happened in real life. Like I
They
think
don't
that's
do a
maybe what-
lot of. They don't do a lot of like defending of the villain here. It's just like, yeah,
No.
this is
Yeah,
straight up
yeah,
evil.
definitely.
So.
I
Yeah.
wonder if they'll ever like, because didn't they rename Boba Fett's ship? Because that was like the Slave One is what
They
it was called,
did,
right?
yeah.
So I wonder if they'd ever like Disney Plus if they'd either delete this episode or like change the episode title or just like blank something out if they care about
The
that.
island, just call it the island.
Yeah, the island.
you're good to
the
go.
island of mutants. That would
Yeah,
do the
or
trick.
just call it Genosha because that's where they fucking
Yeah.
are. Like it's just like that's the idea and stuff. I get what they're going for, but yeah, you'll see Genosha again in the future and stuff. So, anything else?
Yeah, I guess for me, it's like this is another one of those things where it rolls into the next episode where the end of the episode is the X-Men. The X-Men come back and the X-Mansion is destroyed. I have not watched forward, so I don't know what's coming. I think maybe the
that's
rest
fine.
of you, at least Taylor and Travis, know what's coming. Kirkland, have you?
I kept
skipped it?
going.
Okay.
I didn't
Yeah.
realize we were stopping at one point, so I was like, oh, 10 episodes in. This is awesome.
So I'm in for a surprise. I want to know what's
Oh,
going on
yeah.
with the X Mansion. So it's a good cliffhanger for me at the end of this first episode here.
Yeah, and we talked about almost all the episodes, even if they're not two parts. They have some sort of like cliffhanger where it's like you got to watch next to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
Like there's a little piece there and stuff like that. Like even Logan Lee's like, "Where's he going?" And then right away it picks up with, "Oh, he's home," but like right away. So, well.
I did find it funny how like when Gambit, I think it was Gambit and whoever was just like talking about Genosha, how it's such a great idea, and I think it's Scott who seems pretty like resistant to
for
the
it,
idea,
yeah.
and then you just have fucking leader of the X-Men himself, Mr. Charles, like, oh, it's a great idea, yeah, let's totally get it going, and then like for that reason, like they have no real reason to like think that anything bad could be happening, but like it's absolutely worst case scenario. Like your heroes
yeah.
are like captured, they can't use their powers.
They're executing
Thankfully,
people.
the man out of time, basically Cable shows up and saves your heroes. But like if you didn't, like that could have gone really, really bad, you know. I guess Gambit was up to stuff, but still, you just have Xavier like, oh, it's such a great idea. This guy's supposed to, I'm not gonna say he's all knowing, but I feel like he usually is a couple steps ahead. But I don't know, they haven't really shown that too much in the show so far, so maybe that's something later on when Charles becomes a lot more involved. I don't know. We'll see. what
Scott
happens.
was like, I told you, I all told you, yeah, told you it was a bad idea,
That
and you
makes
backed
him just
this
it makes
guy.
him like second guess Charles like throughout the show. Just like, you don't know how to
Yeah.
lead.
You should marry Jean. Should I marry?
You should be with Wolverine.
Yeah, is this a trap? Scorpions. Anything else?
Scorpions. No. Nothing.
That's all for me.
Again, I
Right.
give this one a thumbs up. I think I've given them all just one thumbs up across the board. Consistent episodes for me, varying degrees. I think there's a couple that was like almost teetering, kind of like a Taylor half thumb. But yeah, one thumb for me. There's some good stuff in here.
1 up for me.
1 up for me.
Give it 1 up for me too.
Look at that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have done it. The first X-Men retrospective animated series is in the book. We have reviewed the first 7 episodes. We will be reviewing the rest of the season next, so if you want to watch along. And yeah, we'll be done season 1, and there is some fun stuff to talk about coming up. It's going to be a good time. There's some stuff in here that I'm very excited for. So this was a fun one. I'm glad to be doing this with you guys. A lot of laughs here, lots of good conversation. And we've talked about the entire team, the leaders, some villains, had a good time. We'll be back at some point in the future with another episode.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Won't be boring.